bit late. Nothing. Oh. And she starts off with a knicker twitch. Sabina, if you're watching, that was specially for you. Sabina says, I always start my streams by adjusting my knickers. You know, and really, why wouldn't you? Just get yourself comfy. Get yourself comfy before you get going. Right, just going to wait for some peeps to arrive. Oh, hang on. Finding all sorts of interesting piles around. There's a pile. There's another pile. Hi, Kit. Oh, and Liz and Jackie, they're back, my girls from this morning. You'd think these mips would just have had enough of me, but they just haven't. They just haven't. You just love me, don't you, girls? You just love me. You just love me. Agree. Just say you do. Just say you do, and we'll all be fine. Right, I've got a collection of blocks. I've got some stuff there for mixing up dyes. A couple of dyes I need to mix up. Stuff, boiling water, jug of water. I could get a jug of water while we're just waiting. Well, I'll do it again, Liz. There we go. Oh, hang on. I've pulled it up a bit too high. Bit too high. Nearly did a Brazilian on myself there. Hi, Maria. Mary. Jackie. Yes, of course you do. Of course you do. Yes, and Kit loves me too. People love me. There's one good thing about being fairly inane is people like it. Being human is good, isn't it? Sorry, I really have adjusted those knickers badly now. I'm going to have to actually go down. Let's just do this before anybody I don't know arrives. Just get them sorted. They've gone rather wrong. That's it. That's it. I can't possibly do a stream with my knickers halfway up my you-know-what. And that's the end of filthy words. I am now going to be a responsible adult. And you are very safe on here with me. Because I'm going to be responsible and sensible. That's what I'm going to do. Right, so, in other news. So yesterday, I'm just so in love with these. Well, actually, I'm in love with the papers as well when I come back to them. These gorgeous papers. I mean, these are just so beautiful. They're really lovely. These were with the pattern blocks. That was a pattern block with a stencil over. More pattern blocks. More pattern blocks. And pods. Hi, Jill. Be seeing you tomorrow, Jill. So anything you see going off like that, you know it'll be there for you in the morning. Because I didn't make much mess on this morning's stream, so we don't want that, do we? And then there's these beautiful cloths. I'm going to leave those down there for the moment because we're going to over-dye those later. Not much later. I'm going to be well behaved today and actually get round to the over-dyeing. Oh, I make myself so uncomfortable. Who told me to adjust my knickers again? Whoever it was. Susanna, I believe I have just put on your comment that I'm doing a pubic stream. Here goes me being responsible straight out the window. I kind of saw it and didn't really, I thought I should get online. So here I am doing a pubic stream, which is nice, isn't it? Just the sort of thing you need to cheer you up. A public service, in fact, I think. Good old pubic stream on a sunny day, which it is here in Newport, beating the gloom. So stop thinking about your pants, Hilary. Move away. Right, I'm going to put some barrier cream on straight away. Because I am going to be using dye today, and we'll talk a bit more about that when we get the dye out. But first of all, I thought might just do a little bit more printing because it won't take so very long. And what we did yesterday is we did sort of samplers. This is just because I'm likely to get dye anyway. I have it on my face. I always put barrier cream on underneath normal moisturiser. Because then I'm protected, but we'll talk about that. So, hi Anne-Marie, lovely to see you. Hi Lee, Sue, oh lovely, Janice. All the old onions. All the old onions? I think I've said that because I've just looked at that block, which looks a bit like an onion. All the old eggs. All the old. No idea what I'm trying to say. So we'll move on from that one. Right, let's get rid of a few bits and bobs from this morning's cutting and sticking. We'll sideline the dye stuff because we're going to do that. We'll just pop that. Where will I pop that? Where will I pop? Well, I'm going to pop those on the floor. Sorry, Jill. I'm going to put those up there. Hi, Beth. Hi, Linda. Right, Linda, don't disappear. I'm about to do these pods again. So don't disappear. This is just for you. Just for you. Less of the old, sorry about that. Sorry. All the young onions, spring onions, all my spring onions. I could call you all my spring onions. That would be, that's complimentary, isn't it? I wouldn't mind being a spring onion. If I had to choose between being an old onion, yeah, I'd definitely go for a spring onion. I would definitely go for a spring onion. You can eat those without cooking them, and I'd rather not be cooked. I'm getting myself out of breath here, talking gibberish. Right, let's just focus. Sensible hat on, piece of paper. So, let's imagine this set, you can't see them very well because I've been using them, but this is Pods A. And you have 2 sets. No, that's not Pods A, that is. 2 sets of positives and negatives. So imagine you've just bought these and you think, what am I going to do with them? So we're just going to spend half an hour on the possibilities of what we could do with them. A red onion. Oh, that's a nice idea. Yeah. What about a Spanish onion? Could be a Spanish onion. French onion. French onions. Now that has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Berets, stripy t-shirts, France, the sun. Mine Spain. That makes me think of sun as well. A Spanish onion. French onion soup. Ooh, yeah, yummy. There's a good idea. There's bound to still be onions in the supermarket, so, you know, we can all make French onion soup. God, I've made my knickers uncomfy. Moving on from that, I'll try to stop mentioning it. Okay, so I've got some paints here. No, I haven't. That's a lie. I've got some paints down here. They're not actually ready yet. I've got trays. And let's choose. I'm going to stay with my colours because I really liked them, and it'll make it a bit easier when I'm over dyeing. So we'll do that nice doodah one there. That's robin eggs, Viridian. Oh, what about a bit of turquoise in there? And where did I put? Jill's not going to like Asta, not going to like the paint tray, because I'm afraid all that lovely organisation. Oh, that's a nice colour, isn't it? That's coral, deep coral. We had just going below. Back in a minute. Back in a minute. Oh, hang on, that's not Viridian, that's Kelly Green, that's Viridian. Oh, well, okay. Okay, we had that one and we had white. Oh, we had Chartreuse and that, Defos. And we had that, didn't we? Oh, that's Chocolate Rose, that's deeper. We had, well, I'll tell you what I might let myself do is some Mocha. A bit of Mocha and Chocolate Rose. Do I fancy that? I possibly do. I maybe do. What else is there? There's no bottles. Oh, well, where's the cinnamon rose gone, guys? Anybody seen the cinnamon rose? I mean, we had it yesterday out here, didn't we? Must be on the top. It shouldn't be on the top because these are shimmers. But it is. Oh no, that could be shimmery. I don't know. Anyway, that's a nice collection of paints. So we've got some paints. Hi, Dorothy. Don't worry, I've got my big girl's pants on. I'm comfy. What I've done is I've hitched them up too far. I've turned them into some kind of horrible mix of big girl's pants and Brazilian thong, which wasn't a good thing to do. So here we are. We've got these pods. Let's see what we can do with this set. And my guess is half an hour, I'll still be thinking of things. But let's see. I may now have just set myself up for a big fail and not be able to think of everything. Dorothy's waving. Hi, Dorothy. Our lovely Dorothy. Our lovely Dorothy. What am I saying? What am I saying? She is our lovely Dorothy. Bad, but that's fair enough, isn't it? Right, so just putting some roller heads on. These went in the washing machine last night. It's the easiest way to clean these. So I do wash out most of the acrylic first, but any of you that have washed these rollers, it is like a decorating roller. Well, it is a decorating roller. You'll know that it's quite hard to get all the paint out of them, so then I just shove them in the washing machine. Those are for dye in a minute. Okay. So let's start with this one, okay? So it's a double printer, we know that. We tried it out yesterday. It's double printing capacity. A piece of paper I saw a second ago, but now can't. Oh, hang on here. So this was them, double printed, the 2 lots of pods. So we know we can do that. So let's start by doing a fairly simple sheet where we do that. Take advantage of that capacity of this block. So I'm just going to do... Sylvia, hello! How lovely to see you on here. How lovely to see you. So I'm just going to do a fairly straight line. Oh, hang on. Let's just pop you down a little bit so you can actually see. Okay. I know it means you can't see me, and that's devastating, but we'll just have to live with that. bit up a bit so I can see. Did somebody say big? Oh, big brushes. Right. So I'm just going to do a fairly straightforward pattern repeat. I could do a completely regular pattern repeat, which would be just putting these onto here in squares. But I'm going to just make it a little bit more interesting by putting them as a half drop repeat, which is where we're putting the pattern just in between the others. And as always, I'm not printing very well. Quick recap, if you want to make it a little bit easier printing, put something soft underneath. I haven't bothered, but that's just me. Liz as well, hello. Liz and Sylvia are, no, not Aztec inspectors. That's not, I'm going to get the shoes off. That's better, that's better. Oh, tell me what you are, Liz. I've lost the word, Sylvia. What are you? You're not Aztec inspectors. That's the name of a hotel. Oh, the things that go and check on teachers. They didn't tell me that until after they'd been on a whole workshop, which I'm really glad. But they gave me 10 out of 10 for my assessment, so that was very nice. That was very nice. And that's a blobby print, which is just because I was getting a bit excited there for a moment. Right, so this is a half drop repeat. There's loads of different patterns you can make with just about any block. Those of you on just starting MIP year 1, we've just done this exercise. I'm not going to take it quite as far as we did, but they will confirm you can get an awful lot of patterns out of one block, one colour. You can get a remarkable amount of materials out of that. But I'm just going to finish that repeat. Put it at the top as well because it will look nicer. Okay, so that could be one material that you make with pods A, just one of the pods. Now, so let's start from that point and let's put the second part in, which is the centre. And let's put that in a green. Let's put that in lovely pistachio green, shall we? Ofsted, thank you. I wasn't far off with Aztec, was I? It was, I'd got 2 syllables, Aztec, Ofsted. I actually think Aztec and Ofsted are quite similar sounding words. That may just be me. Right, so I'm going to put pistachio in the middle of these here pods. So to line it up, I do it by eyeball because I'm too lazy to do. I'm not lazy, I can't be bothered, and it doesn't matter enough to me. Do it by eyeball. Oh, it's pretty spectacular, Hilary. Just about bang on. And you get the double print. And what I like is, because I always slightly do this, there's these nice white areas around the edge. And when we add dye, these are going to be very, very, very exciting. Sorry, when I get a face like that, it's because I'm reading a comment. I've just realised I'm standing with my mouth hanging open. Oh, right, okay. Oh, dear. There's a bit of chaos everywhere. Didn't know. Hang on, you're talking to each other, aren't you? No, definitely not. Jackie, yeah, you're talking to each other. I love it when you're talking to each other. And I do like to butt in when I don't know what you're talking about, but give my view anyway. That's always good fun. So I'm just going to quickly put the middles on here, and I'm not going to worry too much about whether they hit. And actually, I'm doing a spectacularly good job. I think I'm doing a better job when I'm not worrying about it than I do when you know what I mean. So, okay, so, whoops, that was a fabulous miss. I knew as I put the block down, I was miles off there. So this now turns this into another material, and a very nice one too. Quite dense patterning when you print them like this. I'm missing more and more as I go down. That was a complete miss. I don't even think I had the block the right way there. But that's just typical me. That's because I'm getting impatient. And yeah, just impatience. I am never going to be known for my ability to do things neatly. I think that's a fact, and it's one I can live with. What I can't live with, I think I've missed off a tiny bit of block over there. I think the repeat would have a little tiny bit there. So we'll have that because that is going to annoy me. There we go. So you could have kept the sheet with just the plain prints on, or we can double it up and do that to it. Now, so I could put that to one side now, and that would be another sheet of material. So I could have now put the first one aside, that would be one, this will be number two. But let's add just a bit more on there because we know I don't like big gaps like that. So I'm going to stick with just the pod set. Let's imagine that's all I've got. So what I'm going to do, I think, tempted to use, I could just use the middle in between, or I could in fact use the whole pod and reverse the print. You see there's so many options, and there's options already spinning through my head. Well, I'm going to do it in green. And as I've inked up the whole pod, let's do the whole pod. I'm going to put them on sideways in between, like that, okay? So that's so even if you go into the variations of how many different ways I could have put this pod, I could have put it straight up. I could have put it upside down. I could have put it in that gap. I could have put it in that gap. I could have put it sideways like that. I've put it on an angle. Get into your what ifs and what abouts. What if I do this? What if I do that? What if I do the other? And as long as it's not an arrestable offence, I don't know why I've left that gap in there. I don't know what came over me there. A slightly stupid moment. Well, let's put it in. And now I've got two pods going the wrong way. But that's not going to bother me very much. I think there's something peculiar about my pattern printing there. I don't know what it is. That one shouldn't be there. That's what it is. I've put a rogue in. They should be in between the pods. But I'm not going to worry about a rogue because most things I do end up with rogues in them. That's a fairly standard thing. Hi, Sabina. I adjusted my knickers earlier. You have to go back to the beginning of the videos. The first thing I did, and I did it for you. It's the kind of mate I am. Right, those I don't think would show. No, they wouldn't. But there'd be a bit showing up here. Wouldn't there in that top row? And I think, would those show? I'm just looking, let's try and find a row where I've done it right. So on the top, there's a thingy. Yes, they would actually. The next row would show a bit here. That's it. I thought it looked as though it needed something. So apart from the balls up row, up here, where I've popped a bit of an extra badger in by accident, that's very pretty too, isn't it? And let's finish that off by putting in the middle, and let's do that in the blue, and that would give us another pattern. Now I could go into the middle of those blocks and double print like I did before, but I don't think I'm going to. And so that would be another option. I think I'm going to go into the gaps that I've got left and just put this block. Oh, yes. I'm liking that. And again, I'm angling this. I could do it straight. I can do it angled. Oh, I've got to find the holes now. There. And how pretty is this? This is very nice. Well, we all know, in my view, more is always more and much better than less. Now, this is the one where I made a bit of a hog twog. That should actually be blue. Oh, that's a real old banana. Old banana? Yep, gibbering. See, once you've gone wrong on a row, it's actually quite hard to work it all out then, but then there we go. So, one very nice material. And along the way of this material, I could have made about 3 or 4 if I'd stopped at various points. I probably wouldn't, if I'm honest, because I do like something with lots on, but that looks really, really, really nice. These are still going to be the dominant feature on this, these double printed blocks, but there's a really nice background in there. Exactly. Some things do remain the same. Me hitching my knickers at the beginning of a stream is never going to change, isn't it? That's beautiful. So that is just with 2 of the blocks. So let's just stay with those 2 blocks and see what else we could do. 2 very nice blocks. So let's go in again with this colour, and this time let's angle this one. So instead of going in straight with this, let's put this on angles, because I quite like that. I think that's quite a nice way of it sitting. So instead of in straight lines, I'm going to angle it in lines and see how that looks. Would have looked better there if I put it stem on, but there you go. We'll add that afterwards. There we go. That was a lucky hit. That doesn't happen very often. That's a rarity. Slip a copy. I've noticed sometimes watching when I'm doing my streams, boy, do I slurp my coffee noisily. Okay, so let's change colour. And let's do the next line in this rather delicious green. Where's it gone? Bottle of pistachio. Can any... Oh, it's there. It's trying to get in my cup of coffee. Okay, Sylvia. Enjoy yourselves, you two. Say hello to Liz. Right, here we go. Here we jolly well. So, I'm going to do the same block. And how am I going to print this one? I think I might print this, you know, so that each 4 go into a middle. That could look quite nice, couldn't it? So it's in a straight line repeat this time. I haven't half dropped it. I'm still going in straight lines. But the way I've angled the block is bringing out quite a nice secondary pattern there. A thing that us quilters do like, a secondary pattern. Makes us happy. Makes us feel there is logic and reason in the world. A nice secondary pattern. That's something we need to be thinking and feeling. Loving that. Okay, back to blue. These are going to get a bit mudded because I'm changing colours such a lot, but that's okay. I can live with that. I can take that on the chin. So I now want to repeat that first line. See, that's nice, isn't it? And then I'm going to do the same again. Change to green. And I haven't found the paper, despite having had 24 hours, I haven't still found the baby wipes. And if I'm perfectly honest, the reason I haven't found the baby wipes is because I haven't yet looked. There's more interesting things to do in life than look for baby wipes. And that's what I've been doing, the more interesting things. Obviously, the baby wipes, well, I can manage without a baby wipe. Yes, I can. Now, while I've got green on there, there's a line above up there. The top would have just a slight bit of green going up and going, oh, this is going to be annoying, but anyway, never mind. Going that way, going that way, and going that way up there. That looks better. Okay, and then blot it off a bit. And let's go back in with the next blue. Get one more line of these. Oh, excuse me, itchy nose. I'm not going to do it with my painty fingers because it makes my nose sore. So I'm just going to get in with my clothes. Because that's the way I like to do it. My clothes are very multifunctional. Yes, I have done that right. It's a poor print. I think that's because I failed to print it. I think I just put it on the paper, but never mind. And last bit of green down the bottom, just to take it off the body. So it's there, there, oops. The blue is Robin Eggs Blue, and the green is Pistachio. Okay, so we've got a nice sheet, and again, I could leave that sheet like that. That is a very nice pattern repeat going on there. But I'm going to add in, now I don't know if I don't know whether I want to add in, I've got a sheet with the middles added in. I think I'm going to do it differently this time. And I'm going to use the middles, but I'm going to use them maybe in between these blocks. Let's try that. So I'd like a third colour now. So I'm going to put on, I'm going to use this lovely Mocha colour because I never used it yesterday and it is one of my favourites. I just love this colour. Mocha Sorbet, yeah, yumbo. Should have shaken that up. Quite a lot of medium came out with that, but it'll be fine. But the acrylics, if they come out really runny like that, it's probably because you haven't shaken the bottle properly, like me there. Do as I do. Right, so this is the middle, or I could keep going. With the, no, let's change the middle because it's just another little pattern. And I can either angle it, but I think let's try and see what happens if we put the middles on a straight orientation. How does that look? It's nice, isn't it? Oh, I've got loads. Oh, for fuck's sake. For heaven's sake, Hilary. For heaven's sake, I really must stop with that. I must, because I'm probably offending people. Right. Apologies if I'm offending you. I don't mean to. Oh, sugar. Sugar, that was a bad print. It wasn't a good print and it wasn't straight either, but never mind. We don't mind. That's a gorgeous colour combination. I'm loving this colour combination. So we've got Mocha, Peacock. No, ignore Peacock. Mocha, Robins, not Peacocks, Robin X Blue. There is a colour called Peacock. This isn't it. That's a rogue print going not straight up and down, but it does look nice actually. Quite, oh, again, this is so very inky. It does look nice on that angle, doesn't it? I like, where's the angled one? There. I like that angle. I probably like it better on the angle than straight up and down, I think, although there's a nice counter change here where I've got it straight up and down with the diagonals going round. So I could play for quite probably a couple of hours, to be honest with you, on variations of how I put these 4 blocks and then how I do these, whether I just have them straight up and down or whether I do them diagonal, whether I do them all the same or whether I do the different ones differently. If you just keep, as you're working, things will come in shot. Every decision you make is an opportunity for something different, isn't it? So if I decide to print this like that, there was an opportunity to print it that way. There was an opportunity to print it that way, that way, that way, that way. And there's also an opportunity to have printed it in any other colour. So you can go on for quite a long time, really, with these sorts of exercises. And they're quite good fun. They teach you lots. Oops, I've just painted the windowsill Mocha. Never mind. It's a nice colour. So, and it matches the raspberry smears on the walls. That looks so nice. I'm loving that. It's a very sophisticated colour scheme, I think, going on here. Now, there would be a tiny bit here on that edge, which I'm going to put in, even though it's a pain, just to finish that pattern off. Another really nice sheet. So we've got that one, and we've got that one so far. And my favourite is always the one I've just done. So let's do another one. I haven't even picked up the second set of pods yet. The negative spaces are gorgeous, aren't they? And this one is a beautiful print, even though it is just the negative of that other pod. I just think it's really, really lovely. So let's try putting it in first. Hello, Dee. Hi, Dee. Oh, don't say hello, say hi. Come on, you know I like it. So let's try. I am going to get a piece of tissue and just wipe that out because I seem to put rather a lot of Mocha in its bottom. Not a nice thing, too much Mocha in your bottom. Well, I don't know, maybe it could be a nice thing, Mocha in your bottom. I think I'll stop that conversation there. I can feel so many bad expressions about to come to me. Right, so let's use this one. Let's do this one first this time, and let's do this one in. Let's lighten our robin eggs a little bit. Oh no, let's put what we were doing yesterday. I was adding this Wedgwoody blue into it, which is making some really nice colour mixes. Hi Jill, oh how nice to see you, Jill. Lovely Jill. Milo is still running around with that. Look, one of them has got buried, I'm afraid, and shredded, but he's still running around with his other playmat. He just loves it, Jill. He loves it. Right, so let's go. I'm going to go angled again. Okay, so I'm going to put this on an angle. That is really nice. I'm quite liking the fact that I've got a bit of brown coming through from the background as well, which is because the block was dirty. That's gorgeous. And I think that's just so pretty on its own. I really do. So let's do a half drop with that. So I'm going to turn the block so it's facing the other way. So there is a direction to this. It's coming this way. A little point down here. So I'm turning the point the other way and I'm going to do into the gap. So rather than going straight down like I did before, I'm going a half drop repeat. So I'm just moving the block halfway, which will give me another flow and pattern. And love that. That looks so nice. Really nice. So then we're back to turning it with a pointy bit down and back to this way. This is quite tough printing for me because these are regular repeats and it's not honestly how my brain works. Hi Francis! It does look like an onion. I got onto onions earlier. I think that's why I said onions. I'm not quite sure what seed pod was that I was drawing this from. I know what some of them were. I know the really fluffy one was Particulate Mask flower. I'm not at all certain about this one. I'd have to look up what this one was that I was drawing it. I was drawing from a book of pods, so I'll have to check what this is. But we can call it an onion. I don't mind calling it an onion. It looks oniony. It looks very oniony, particularly this middle bit looks really oniony. It's quite nice to know that it's an onion that isn't an onion. But it probably was... What sort of flowers have pods that look like onions? I wonder. To be confirmed exactly what this pod is. Small detail. And for a woman that calls her, calls things cactuses that aren't cactuses, are in fact just succulents, you know, why should I get things right? I feel no obligation. It is pod set A. It's a lovely set of blocks. Well, they're all lovely. I like them all. I like them all. Of course I do. Of course I do. I designed them. Why wouldn't I like them? I don't get the ones made that I don't like. So any that we get, I like. So this is getting lighter in colour as I go down because this block had some of the brown still on it when I started. So it's quite a nice sort of gentle shading down the page of colour, just getting a little bit lighter as we go down and losing that brown tinge. So facing up into the gaps. I've actually done a whole sheet without going wrong, which is quite miraculous for me. Repeat pattern printing I can do for a short period of time, but it's not really how my brain works. It will for some of you will absolutely love it, and that's fine. Don't fight with what you naturally like doing. Too many teachers bang on about getting outside of your comfort zone, and I just think that's a load of rubbish. I think, you know, your comfort zone is actually where your own artist style lives. If you're bored with your own art, then perhaps change it. But for me, the joy is we're all different. So for every person like me that finds this kind of repeat printing quite hard to do because my brain's not logical, there'll be somebody like William Morris who absolutely loves it. So, and if you feel bad about being somebody that likes the regular, because that is often the one in art school or at school you were told you just needed to free yourself up a bit, and other completely unhelpful comments like that. Don't worry about it. Go and look at the arts and crafts movement if you want to see some absolutely stunning work done by people who were brilliant pattern makers and with some lovely logical minds. Agapanthus, yes. I'll have to look it up. You're all clever lots on there. I'm sure I'm going to get loads of sensible. A walnut shell. You see, now I'm thinking these would be nice things for nuts would be. Sorry, I did say I was going to be responsible, didn't I? Nuts would be a lovely set of drawings to do because there's some really nice nuts around. Stop. They would. Also, Agapanthus would be a great flower to do some designs from. I haven't done a flower one for months. So now I'm going to put a second layer on that, and I've got choices again. I can use my same block. I could go in with the other bigger block on there. That would work perfectly well, but I think I'm going to use the same, and I think I'm going to use it with this lovely Mocha brown, because I actually think this is really rather nice with just this one. Now I've got to find gaps now. And now again, I've got to decide. Last time I changed and went into, I started putting this straight against the diagonal. So, that's skidded. This time I'm going to try to keep it on diagonals and see how that looks. And I think It won't have the counter change that the other one has, but I think it will have a lovely movement across here and make a really beautiful piece of material. Don't worry if you do something like that. The block skidded because I'd got too much paint in it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. The beauty of handmade art, isn't it, is its idiosyncrasies. We don't want it perfect. If you want perfect, there's lots of machines can do perfect. And for me, those skids and things happen when I'm trying to work fast, which I always am, because I find if I work fast, I just don't get in my own way. It stops me overthinking things and worrying about them. It just makes me get on with it, which is a good thing. I'm loving this. I think this is beautiful material. And yep, I've gone wrong. Haven't turned my block as I should have done there. Too much chat, Hilary. Can you believe it? Too much talking from me. So unusual. I'm normally such a quiet little soul. So we want it that way, that way. Let's just try and focus and get this last little bit done with some degree of correctivity. There's a good word. There's a good word. Should stop making up words. I should never have published a book with a made-up word in the title, because it means, so calling a book The Gentleish Art of Jalaping, howlingly funny if you're me, you think, oh yeah, very, very clever, very giggly, but it means it never comes up in any searches for jelly plate printing, because it doesn't use the word jelly plate in its title, which had I been thinking about it 3 years ago, 3 years ago? No, I wrote that longer ago than that. When did I write The Gentleish Art of Jalaping? 2014, 6 years ago. Dear God, I'm old. Suddenly feel old. Yeah, I would never have thought about that aspect of it. But take it from me, girls, take it as a bit of advice from South Wales. If you're going to write a book, don't make up a word in the title. Call it the obvious and then it comes up nicely in searches. Isn't that gorgeous? Really like that. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Excellent thing to be doing while waiting for your granddaughter. So, we've got 3 so far, and I could keep going because I could do all of that with just this block. I could double those up and add more. There's some little gaps in there, so let's bring in the other pod in this set, and let's get our pistachio, and let's add some of that. Whoops, that's the Make It Personal online. I need to post that in your group. You'll remind me, won't you, Dorothy? You'll shout at me if I forget. So into this green, let's now add a bit of chartreuse, because that's the mix we were using yesterday, was a pistachio chartreuse mix. So let's add some of that in there. And then I can wallop that on there. And get that here. And now then, do I want this angle too? Yes, come on, let's angle this one as well. And this is the middle of the other pod. So this is another very light little pattern, but I think it's going to work really well on here, and I think it is doing. I'm going to keep it the same way up to avoid me getting in a mess. So just fill in a bit of colour in those gaps, and it's keeping a really light look to this material. This one's going to be a really nice light piece to use, which is good. It's just what we want it to be. I'll tell you what I'm going to do if we have if I get locked in. I mean, quite apart from the fact that, sadly, in some ways, I can do my job perfectly well whilst locked in, because most of it's streaming, so I actually am not going to get a holiday. But I'm going to pretend I am, and I'm going to do the new dye colours, which have been on my mind for about, well, certainly quite a lot of years, so that'd be a really nice thing to do. Always a golden lining. No, why can't I ever get something right? A silver lining. Always a silver lining. Every cloud has a silver lining. There, that is really pretty. I like that addition in there. And these are I'm still working on regular repeats. So that's just added. It's the way I'm looking at it. I don't think it matters which way you look at that. I've just added some nice repeats in there. So, still singing. Love that advert. Which advert? Which advert? Have I missed a... Always look on the bright side of life. Have I said that recently? No, every cloud has a silver lining. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's just do a couple more. I think you can see you could go on for a long time with these. As I say, I haven't yet actually really got into the second block much yet. So let's do that. Let's get into the second block and let's start by printing what I've just been doing, which is this one. And let's see, let's print this on an angle. It's a very, very light, delicate one, this, because this is the insides of that other pod. So that is a really light pattern. It's very, it's Art Nouveau looking, isn't it? Like that. It looks very Art Nouveau to me. So, okay, I've done it on angles again. Let's do something different then. So here's a different thing. Let's then do a row of reversed straights in between. So I'm putting it straight on. Well, I'm putting it nearly straight on. That didn't quite pan out as it should have done. That straight on. That straight on didn't really go 100% straight. And if we're going to do that, then we want a row of straights here as well, above. Don't forget your edges. Edges are important. There. And then let's do another angled row. And I'll angle it so that these are going differently to those angles. So they're angled the opposite way round here. I think that looks nice. Interesting material. This could be a really nice pale light one, because this is very light printing this is making. So this could make me a nice light material. Are you over in yes, you, Maria, you, Hannah, Tina, you're all on a bit of lockdown in Denmark, I know. But you know, we can find plenty of games to play. Milo won't like being locked in, but we've got a good garden, and I can still walk the dog. I shall still walk the dog. I think if you didn't see it, somebody sent me a clip this morning from YouTube about coronavirus, just briefly mentioning the bogey, which was really interesting. A, it's very humorous, so it makes you laugh, something that we all need to remember we're good at doing. And B, it actually, factually, is pretty useful to kind of get it into perspective and to help you think, well, what actually should you be doing to help? So another angled row here. That's so pretty. I don't like that. God, where does the time go? You see, you can fill days so happily and quickly with nice printing things. I was going to do the Echinacea set, but I think we better save that for another day. I think after I've done this, I better mix up my dyes, haven't I? And make sure I get the dyeing done. Make sure I dye properly. We don't want me not dyeing, and then this way, that way, and that way. Okay, I think I've started moving the rows a bit closer together towards the bottom, but that's okay, that's just typical me. So if this is going to be a gentle one, why don't I do it all in one tone? Let's do a monotone sheet. So I'm just going to lighten this green with some white, and let's just print over with some white and keep it a very light, gentle sheet. And let's just use the same block. You could just think this is such a light block and there's very little on it, but I think this will make a very pretty, gentle sheet for me to use. Yeah, dyeing's exciting. I promise I'll do it. I can't help. I do this at shows as well. I say, yeah, I'm going to dye in a minute. Look, shut up, you lot. Just let me do what I want. You know, you'd think I was here to help you. I will do the dyeing. Right, so I'm going to go for the gaps. I'm not at all sure whether I'm going straight or not, so I'm just going to stick it in, see what happens. I've gone diagonal on that one. Okay, so I'll do the same again. We'll do diagonal, 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 and then we'll do our run of straights. So straight. Surprising how much difference it's actually making, the line I'm doing straight and the line I'm doing diagonal. If I did whole materials in each of these, they would actually look quite different. You think there can't be that much difference, but actually there is quite a lot of difference. And then back to diagonals. So there's one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, and straights, one there, one there. Oops, that's a diagonal. That's a diagonal on a straight. That was just me putting it down too fast. Yep, diagonal. I wish I'd done these diagonals. I'm going to do that one that way. I like them better when they are going a bit, yeah, against whatever. You follow that? Everybody follow that? I like them better when they're going a bit against whatever. That's what I like. And straighties down here. Just bashing those in there, and some straighties up here. No, I don't know if that's the right spots or not. There seems to still be gaps in this to me. There's still holes in that, so I'm going to go into those holes. Can I keep this all in one tone? It's very difficult. No, I can't. No, I can't. Bugger that idea. It was a great idea, but I'm not doing a mip stream now. I don't have to be disciplined. I can do what I want, and what I fancy doing is putting light blue in there. So I'm going to lighten up my blue and put a bit of light blue on this budget. Good. Excellent, Maggie. My usual teaching mode then. Clear as mud. Makes you think for yourself. That's what I put it down to. It encourages you to think for yourselves and have original ideas, because there's no point you relying on mine, because you're never going to understand them. Right. Oh, well, this is almost the same colour because it's kind of blending on the block. Oh, that's so pretty. How nice does that look? There goes the clock bonging again. It does bong, that clock. It does. Right, so I'm still trying to keep with my some diagonals, some straight. Not sure how much success I'm having, but I can only say I'm trying, and I'm going into this other set of gaps, and that's much better. To me, that's more even, and that's what I like. I like a nice even coverage of things. Call me anal if you wish. I wouldn't, but it's up to you. You can if you wish. And what else did I want to say beyond call me anal if you wish? I've got stuck on that thought. I like things quite uneven coverage for something like this. Makes me happy. And that's all that matters. As we talked about yesterday, all that matters is that you are happy. It doesn't matter a jot what anybody else thinks. If you start trying to make artwork and design work for other people, you'll find it a very, very hard stroke impossible, because how can you possibly know what they like? And also a bit soul destroying, because it's much nicer to make what you like and just hope other people do. So that's a very gentle one. I am going to keep it like that as a gentle one. Okay, so let's just use this last block then here. We'll do one more with this. So this is the outside of it. And I think I might do that in, I don't know what I'm going to do that in. What have I got? I haven't got so much of this blue, so let's have a bit more of this. Oh, we haven't got any dark blue. Well, let's just put a bit more robin eggs on there. Let's go back down the robin eggs gig. I said half an hour, didn't I? That ran out a long time ago, and I know it did. This is going to be a nice one as well to do pattern repeats with, because it's going to make secondary patterns again. But let's see, I could put there. I'm liking them offset a little bit. And this is another double block, so I could put the middle into all of these if I wished and double print them all. And in fact, all of these that I'm doing single, I could be doing double, and that would give me another whole line of variations. The stem on this, whoops, let's get it right, is actually quite a strong element because it's waving from side to side. If you didn't want that, and if you wanted another variation, just don't put paint on the stem, and you would get another look to this. It would look quite different without these stems moving around. When I'm not getting a print like this, it's one of two things. Either I just haven't bothered banging it down at all, or quite likely I haven't actually put paint on that bit of the block, which I quite regularly don't do as I'm galloping along. Okay, that's pretty, 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 pretty. It's rocking my boat. I got an expression right now then. That's well, actually that isn't wrong. So how come that won't go in that gap? Maybe it does. Maybe I'm just not seeing it right. Oh, there's one without a stem, look, because I didn't put stuff on the stem. And I think, would there be at the bottom? So there would be, I'd be turning the block. Yes, I think there'd be tiny little bits in here. Not a lot, but enough to be significant, I think. Okay, and above these would be actually this. So above one of those would be that. Oh, that was a good print, Hilary. That, and that. Okay. So first line, I could keep it like that, or I can go back in. Now I can carry on using the same block and do all the variations and more that I've done with the first block, or I can start mixing the two blocks, because you have got a 2 block set here. So let's use this badger, that's the other one in pods A. And let's use him with this nice Mocha colour. Let's just add a bit of water, no, not water, white. A bit of white into that. What are you chatting about? It'll be Maggie and Dorothy. Thank you, Janice. I think it's the carving that's amazing. I'm glad you like my designs, but the carving, I just find it's quite extraordinary that they can cut these. You know, that little fine one I was using, the carving on that is just amazing. I know it doesn't look quite as pretty now, I've blobbed all over it, but oh, that's a nice colour. We're going into pale Mocha Sorbet now. So I'm going to put these in like that. So this is the different pod going over in the gaps. And I'm using much the same technique actually on quite a few of these papers, where I'm doing a half drop repeat and then I'm turning the block and putting, carrying on that half drop repeat, and then I'm putting in another block in the gaps. How clear was that one? Marks out of 10 please for me there, girls. How did I do? I feel it was better than my last explanation, but possibly still not scoring high on clarity, I think. Maggie, how clear was that? I'm not asking Dorothy because I know she'll give me a rubbish score. She's cruel to me, as Dorothy. I mean, do I get a, could I be on a 5 or 6 out of 10 for clarity there? Any chance? Any chance? Hang on, where does that go? That goes like that. You see, I'm thinking about it now, and it's making it difficult for me to concentrate because normally I'm so focused. You'll have noticed that. Right, okay. There we go. And turn the badge around, and we're going to there and into there. Oh, 8 out of 10. Fantastic. Oh, well, I'm well on the way up then. I'm pleased with that. I'll take 8 out of 10. That'll do for me. Can I have that in writing, please? I'd like to put that on my, I'd like to put that on the reviews. Oh, Maria, thank you for leaving me a review. That's really kind, and it does help. It helps other people looking at taking courses. Not that they can at the moment because I haven't got any spaces, but in theory, it helps other people taking courses if you leave nice reviews, and it just makes me feel happy. So anybody that feels like leaving me nice reviews, go for it. Please do. I won't object. And anybody who doesn't, well, sod off. That's what I say, sod off. I don't want to know you. If you want to be mean to me, you can go away. Right, ain't that gorgeous? Isn't that beautiful? I'm just loving it. But I'm sure you all know what I'm thinking. There's gaps. The really cheeky ones, Maria, are my first, well, they're mostly the online students from last year who I must admit, it does feel like they've been with me forever. Who are a cheeky bunch, and one or two are students that have been here who are also cheeky. The people that are still polite to me are actually the people that haven't met me in person yet or tutored me, and they're usually fairly respectful for a shortish period of time, but I usually get a little bit. No, the crazy was great. I thought crazy tutor, that is a very, very good expression. No point anybody coming who's looking for normal, is there? Let's be honest. No, I thought it was an excellent, excellent review. Thank you very much. Now then, see, to me, I just love that little bit of extra colour in the gaps. And we've still got plenty of white on here, should we want to leave it white, and plenty of white to put our dye into, which I'm going to do in a minute. I really am. Turned my block the wrong way up, but I don't think which way up I have is going to make much difference here. That's just gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. I'm loving its pants off. That's how I'm feeling about that. A great deal of love for this piece, all these bits of material. Now I've made these on paper, which is fine because I'll stitch with paper. So as far as I'm concerned, this is no different to it being fabric. Just uses less paint to print it, in fact. But if you wanted to make these on material, you certainly could. And I have. And I could honestly carry on for 2 or 3 more hours with just that set of 4 blocks and still come up with new patterns. You know, so far I've just been doing regular repeats. Once you get into random, there's many, many, many more options. I think she is talking about you, Liz. Yes, the cheeky ones, the cheeky devils. Right, so I've got a really nice, I've got a lovely gentle one. I've got, those are made very similarly, and you can see that similar kind of movement of pattern, but they look quite different. That one where we've got the diagonals and then this upright one in between, which has really changed things around, which I like. And that one with the double print. So I could go on and on and on and on. We all know I can go on and on and on, don't we? But what I'd like to do now, for those that have come specifically to see that, let's do some over dyeing. So I'm just going to put much, there is a bit of paint left on those. Ooh, I might come back to those. We'll see. We'll see how long the dyeing takes. Let's just move this lot out of the way. Dab my finger straight away. Oh, I didn't get to the stencils again. Never mind, maybe later. Maybe later. I have to say that to myself, otherwise I'll be upset. I'll just go pop these around the other side. Well, I'll just pop those actually on that pile there. That pile is the pile of stuff that we were doing this morning. So for those of you that were here this morning on the, it's one of the online classes. Don't think you've missed a stream because you haven't. And not yours, Susanna. You don't need to worry either. What's Dorothy saying? Oh, excuse me. Oh, what a shame. Yeah, I think quite a few places are going to close, but I think probably that is the sensible thing, because it's going to contain the spread, and that's what we need to do. So I think it's just been a bit bored for a few weeks, isn't it? Well, not in my case. It's not being a bit bored for a few weeks. It's having things cancelled. So we just need to keep each other cheerful online. So let's move the blocks and let's talk about dyeing. I'm just going to go and turn the kettle on because I'm going to need some hot water. I will do the stencils. Don't worry, Janice. Don't worry. If not today, another day. I'm just turning on the water on the kettle. I'm not turning on the water. That's not how it works. Turning on the kettle. I am now turning on the water. That is the noise of the water being turned on, because I'm going to need that. Oh, I do like it when it gets mild enough for me to wear bare feet again. It's so much comfier in bare feet. Right. Oh, heavens, but right. I'm going to take this sheet off because it's sticky and moving. And actually, I've stuck a block to it. Don't put your blocks paint side down on paper because you'll do to them. Oh, hi Yvonne. Nice to hear. Cleavage? Where? Where? There? Surely not. What do you mean? Is it when I bend over? Those bad boys, they get out all over the place. To be honest with you, Amo, if you've got tits like mine, you're going to show cleavage. And deep apologies to any men watching. Well, actually, I probably shouldn't apologise to any men watching. They're probably thoroughly enjoying the cleavage bit. or maybe not. Maybe I'll just move off that subject. Right, so let's talk about dye. Don't need those. I'm trying to get off all the bits I don't need here. The first thing I need to do actually is iron these materials. So let's just do that while I'm stood here, because that will ensure that the paint is fixed. I know. Let's do this because I advertised this stream as doing the overdying. So I'm going to do the overdying, and then if we've got a bit of time left, we'll do some more printing. I know you stalwarts won't get bored, but that's because you're used to 4-hour streams. You know, you're not under any illusions about them. Some people may have just put aside a little half hour to come here and watch overdying. So we're going to do that first. Right, so ironing. The paint is an acrylic paint. Not dissimilar to the acrylic paint you put on your walls. Acrylics take a while to actually cure and seal. So if you think when you're painting your wall, the tin will say touch dry in an hour, leave 24 hours before recoating. That's about, you know, this is touch dry, and actually it will have cured by now because we're on the next day. But it dries very quickly on the fabric, but it isn't fully cured as soon as you put it on. You need a bit of time for that acrylic to cure, and that helps it to resist the dye. Now that said, Setter colour is so good that I frequently don't do that. I don't wait, so like it shows, I print it and then I dye it an hour later, straight off the hoof. You can help that by heat fixing it. So in an ideal world, and if I wanted these fabrics for furnishings, I would both leave them for 24 hours for the paint to cure, and I would heat fix. Now I've got to be honest, I'm not patient enough to do 2 minutes on every bit of this cloth. So I'm just giving it a bit of a good iron. I think there is, I'll have to find this out because I should know this, and I don't off the top of my head, but there is, you can do these in the oven. I kind of bothers me a bit because I just know I'm going to set fire to them. I sort of can feel that happening all over me, that I'm going to get out charred crisps. I feel a bit more in control with the iron. You can, if you've got a heat press, you could do them in that, and if your husband has a trouser press and he's not around and can't see, or indeed you have a trouser press, how very un-PC of me, or if you have a trouser press, you can stick your fabrics in your trouser press to actually heat fix them. For me, 24 hours, and then I'm giving it just a hot iron over the cloth, not massively thorough, but you know, I am getting onto all those bits, and that'll do. It's very good paint. It'll be fine because it's good paint. She says, hopefully, and all fingers crossed, because usually when I've said that, it just decides to spat off. No, it doesn't. Setter colour never spats off. Okay, so that's that one sealed, and I would call that fixed. And we'll do the same with the mushrooms. That's it on the floor. So I like to treat my precious things straight on the floor. Same thing, these have had since yesterday afternoon to cure, so that's good. So this paint should now have formed basically acrylic. When it's cured, has a skin over it, which is non-rewettable, so you can't re-wet it. If you're looking at watercolour paints, you can always re-wet them. So when you add water to a watercolour paint, it will re-wet. The only way to stop that happening is to seal or varnish the picture. So if you had a watercolour painting that hadn't been varnished at all, and you pour water down it, it will start running. But acrylic gets a skin on it, and that's the same with things like the Kohinoor dye palettes and things that we use, and the dye. Until you've done some sealing with these things, they're all going to re-wet and remove. Acrylic, once it's cured, will not re-wet. So you could pour water down an acrylic painting after it's dried, even if it wasn't varnished, and the paint wouldn't move. Now the paper might fall to pieces, admittedly, but the paint wouldn't move. So it's quite a big difference between them. And one of the things that we look at when we're playing with screen printing is the properties of things that will re-wet and things that won't. I won't get into that now because I'll just confuse you all. Okay, so we'll count those as fixed. I'm just going to get the one I've thrown on the floor back up. And I will just quickly, because they really are only just done, you don't particularly need to bother on paper because I have only just done these. I will also heat fix these just really to dry that paint off properly. They're fairly dry, but they will still have that kind of stickiness. It's not bad at all. I can tell they have because it's juddering over the paper. Pooh! I'm going to set the smoke alarm off. I'll be in trouble. I'd better go fast. Smoke alarm's going to go off. I'll be in trouble. I'll get told off. Oh, look at that. That's going to be spectacular. Oh, burgundies. Sorry, I'm just thinking about over-dye colours now. So, we've got those done. Here we go. I'm doing these very quickly just to try and seal them off a bit because I have only just printed them. I will get some pollution of the paint because I haven't let the acrylic cure and seal off, but that's okay. The paints are very good. I'll still get a really good effect, and I'll explain what I mean as I'm doing it. It'll be clear as I'm doing it. So this is you watching me iron. Exciting stuff, exciting stuff. And one more. This lovely delicate one. Right, okay. So we'll count that as done. I'm absolutely bored. I didn't really do that one, but I've just got completely bored of ironing now. Can't be bothered to do anymore. Okay. So Procyon dye. Let me find my gloves. Right, I've got barrier cream on. I put it on when I started. It's this stuff. I mean, this is a huge pot. Because I use it such a lot. Normally it comes in 250ml pots. This is, it's not a particularly pretty looking pot, I'm afraid, but it is a really good barrier cream. This is one that is designed for use in factories and commercial premises to protect workers. So it actually really does do the job. And I'm just going to put it on again. With paint, it's just going to sit on the surface of your skin, and your fingers and hands may get messy. And in my case, I'm good at throwing paint by accident, so the whole of me can get messy, but it won't do me any harm. With Procyon dye, and that's because of this plasticky quality again of acrylic. So with acrylic, you're looking at something that has this plasticky skin, and that stops it from getting into my, or seeping through my skin, if you like. Dye is a liquid. It's like a stain, and it will soak through the pores of my skin and actually get into my bloodstream. And that is the fastest way to get a substance into your bloodstream, is not actually swallowing it, it's putting it on your skin. Because if you think about it, it's straight in and into your blood vessels pumping around here. It's a really quick route into your bloodstream. Think about ibuprofen gel, think about HRT, think about nicotine patches. They're a very effective way of getting something into your system. Now, I don't want Procyon dye in my system. So I basically cover myself in barrier cream, which prevents that absorption. And I also wear gloves. The gloves are really just because I never used to bother with gloves, but I do so much of this now. My fingers are just permanently dyed if I don't wear gloves. So love this, because I'm going to do an operation. Now then, sir, please bend over. Let's have a look what we have here. In another life. Right, so to make Procyon dye, let's talk about what it is. This is Procyon dye. It's powder, and I'm going to mix it, and it's a powder that has a lot of pigment in it, and I'm going to mix it with water to make it into a liquid dye. Let me get my dyes and show you. And can I just say, before I start all these descriptions, if you have any of my books, I'm pretty sure that's true, not The Language of Flowers, because that's a slightly different sort of catalogue type book, but Make It Personal Book 1, Make It Personal Book 2, or The Gentle Art of Gelapping, they all cover mixing dyes. So they all cover the paint and they all cover the dye in their introductions about materials. So you don't have to try and remember all of this, but it is very simple. I have all my dyes pre-mixed in pots like this. So I've got, if I put these down, you can see, usually about 30 or more colours pre-mixed as dye. And having done that, I use dye all the time in my work because it's easy for me to get at, it's pre-mixed and it's ready. I am far too impatient to start mixing dye when I want to use it. If I was going to do that, I'd find another way of doing it because I couldn't be bothered. And there is also that at this stage, looking at that, I don't actually know what colour I want to dye that. So I wouldn't know what colour dye to make, because the way I decide is I look at them, and as I look at a colour, because I use the same colours all the time, so I look at sienna, for example, here, I know that that colour is an orangey brown, more on the brown than orange, mid-tones, warm, lovely and warm, and you know, it would look spectacular over that. It would look really, really nice over that. So I can picture the colour and how it would interact with the materials I've got. So I like to have them all pre-mixed. So when they're in this state, they're basically like an ink. They would function very much like a drawing ink, function very much like a watercolour. You have very intense, transparent colour in these. Very cheap. This is probably the cheapest way there is of getting that intensity of colour in a transparent ink. So you can use these instead of drawing ink. You could use them instead of a watercolour palette. I'm not suggesting for proper watercolour painting. I'm talking about the kind of things we're doing in terms of design. You could use these. You could put them in spritzer bottles, which I am about to get into the shop because I found some at last. Spritzer bottles so that you could fill them with dye and spray them on, spray them through stencils, spray them onto pages, spray them onto fabric. You could use them in dropper bottles. You can do anything you want with them, really. You don't need to buy a whole load of other liquid mediums. You don't really need drawing ink, and you don't really need Prosciutto and all those things. Because it's Procyon, it will work on either paper or fabric, and it will be washable on fabric, providing we fix it. The fixative for Procyon dye, this is Procyon MX, by the way. The fixative for Procyon dye is soda ash. As soon as the soda hits the Procyon, the chemical reaction starts, and the dye has a working life of about 4 hours. After that time, it becomes inert. So although it will still have colour in the pot and it will still work on paper, it will no longer act as a dye on fabric. It will just have lost that ability to fix into the fabric. So that means that if you put the soda in with the dye, within 4 hours, this is useless as a dye and you need to throw it away. So I don't put the soda in here. A lot of books will give you a recipe where you are mixing soda or chemical water into dye and making a bucket dyeing, immersion dyeing. But unfortunately, when you're finished with that, that dye is inert. It's of no use to you really, except for as an ink on paper, and there's a limit to how much of that you're going to use. So far better is to separate the dye and the soda ash. And then that doesn't happen. So I can mix these up, and all that there is in here is Procyon dye powder and water, and they will not go off. These will last indefinitely. Now there is a working life of Procyon dye, which I can't give you facts about. I can only tell you what other people have told me. Some people have told me they've got dye that's 10 years old that is still working fine. Other people have told me that within 2 years, Procyon loses some of its intensity. My feeling would be, for me, I'm going to use it within 2 years, so I'm really not too worried. But it's basically not going to go off in this form any more than it would in just the powder. So I can make these up and have them all the time. When I'm working on paper, I don't need the soda ash. When I'm working on fabric, like I am here, I will need soda ash, and I'll explain that to you when I pick up the fabric. So let's just look at how I mix these up, because it's really, really easy. So I've picked up a couple of colours that I know I like and have run out of, and the reason I've run out of them is because I like them a lot. So I'll just put my dyes down here. God, that's dangerous. There's open pots in there. Okay. So I've got a couple of spare pots. I'll go get the kettle. I'm going to get a glass jug actually to save melting my pots. My pots are a bit tired of being melted. Glass jug, well that's rather a big glass jug, but it'll do. It'll do. What a mess on the floor. I don't know. Right. So you can put the water straight into here, but these plastic pots do tend to warp a little bit when you do that. So I'm trying to remember to mix in glass and then pour into those. So into here, I'm just going to put a bit of boiling water. It's just off boiling because I boiled it about, well, I've been rattling on for 10 minutes ago. And I need to put into this hot water the Procyon dye. I'm going to make up about 200 mils of dye, which is what this pot is. It's about a cup, could be 250 mils, depends on the size of the pot I've got. These ones happen to be 200. So if you think of about a cup of water, I haven't put that much in at the moment, I've just got a little bit of boiling water. If you think of roughly a cup of water or a cup of tea and a teaspoon of sugar or a teaspoon of coffee, and that's the amount of Procyon dye I'm going to put in. Now, I don't want Procyon dye through my skin and I don't want it in my airways either. This is the only product I use that has any health and safety issues with it at all. Everything else I use is water-based and simply can't harm you. I use Procyon dye because it is such a powerful, intense colour, permanent on fabric and cheap. So I'm prepared to put up with the couple of issues there are. One is gloving up and putting barrier cream on, and the other is not inhaling the powder. Now, to be honest with you, if you were just doing one, I would just hold my breath while I was putting the powder into the pot, so that I didn't breathe in any of this powder. The only time it's dangerous is, or not dangerous, but the only time there's an issue is when it's in powder form, because you can inhale it. It's such fine particles. So to stop that, you need a particulate mask. I'm afraid the masks you get in B&Q for £1 aren't going to do it, because they're not for particulates, they're for dust. That's why they're called dust masks. What you need is a particulate mask. There is a BS standard for them, but if you are buying, the only masks I have in my shop are particulate masks. This is what we're using them from, and you can go into my online shop, Lynn. I have them there, and I only have particulate masks. Now there's two. This is the slightly more expensive one, I think, because it has a ventilator in it, which means that when I've got it on, I can actually breathe a little bit better through it. The other one is a slightly cheaper one. I can't remember what they are. They're not, I think might be £1.75 instead of £1, something like that. But it is actually protecting you from this dye powder, so there's no point walloping on a dust mask that isn't going to do the job. Just saying, that's all. So stay safe, and if you're looking elsewhere for things, ask somebody whether the mask you're picking up is one for particulates, because that's what you need. Okay, so I'm just going to stick that on. I know it looks ultra glamorous, doesn't it? There we are. I've got that on, those on. I'm ready to operate. So I'm just going to stick in here. It's riding up. I haven't got a very big nose. Riding up my nose and hitting my eyeballs. Right, here we go. So roughly a teaspoon, and it is roughly. I mean, I've got quite a heapy one there, because I know this is quite, in fact, I've just put an extra one in, didn't I? I just did it without thinking, because I know that this is quite a small teaspoon. It's a very useful one because it's got a long handle, which makes it very handy for getting at things. Like down in here. But it has got a small head. And as soon as that powder, sealed it back up, as soon as that powder is mixed into the water, that's fine, I can take my mask off. So let's add up to about 200 mils of cold water. Mix that up. If you want to see the colour you've got, try it out on paper. I just have the things in the shop that I use, Lynn, so if they're easy to get, I don't bother. But something like the masks, I know it's confusing which is the right mask to get, so I do have it. Right, so and if you want to check the colour, put it down on some paper and you'll see the colour it's going to come up. This one is cornflower, which is a nice mid-blue. Okay, so we'll put that in there. Perfect. As ever with me, I haven't quite dissolved all the dye in there, so I'll just, I honestly can't be bothered. That's the truth. I can't really be bothered. I'll just put a bit more water in, swirl it round, and we'll call that done. Okay, as ever, I've poured it over the edge as well. So there we are. We have a pot of cornflour, and I'm just going to do robin eggs blue as well. Now, in theory, I should go over and wash out my pot and get everything back to pure state. But to be honest with you, the reality is I can't be bothered, and I'm not that bothered about it. So we'll just give that a bit of a wipe out. That'll do fine. A bit more water. Now, experience with these things will give you this next bit of information. Dyes come mixed with filler. Now, the corn flour has a lot of pigment, not so much filler, because it's quite a mid-dark tone. This one, Robin Eggs Blue, is a very light colour, and therefore it has a lot of filler, small amount of pigment. Pigment weighs heavier than filler. So when you've got one of the dyes that is a deeper colour, there will be less powder in your pot. It still weighs 25 grams. There's just less powder, and you actually need less of it. So with this, because the amount of filler in here, I need quite a bit to get a colour. So I'm actually going to put 2 or 3 teaspoons of this boy in, but we'll find when you get, that's gone so, oh, it'll do. It'll do. It'll hold on for a minute. Right, so in we go. When you get Robin Eggs Blue, you open the pot, it nearly flies out at you, because to get 25 grams, it just fits in the pot. So I'm actually going to put 3 in there. Put the lid back on there. Stir this up. It doesn't want to melt. It doesn't want to dissolve. I think my water's gone well off boiling now. Oh no, it's still steaming. Just persevere. It's not the easiest one to mix this. Lemon yellow is another one that's really likes to try and stay in granule form. And until I can see that all this powder is well mixed into the water, and therefore not likely to start coming out here, I'll keep my mask on. So I can now take that mask off. This mask is a bit ropey because Milo had it yesterday. He obviously felt he was at risk too, so he thought he would try out a mask and see how it went. He wasn't very interested in it because it's still in one piece, but he has pulled the straps a bit loose, as you do when you're a young dog. Right, okay. That's an awful noise, isn't it? Shall I stop that? So this is Robin Eggs Blue, and it's a very gentle pale blue, one of my favourite colours for using, both in paint and dye, is Robin Eggs Blue. Now, because I name my own dyes and paints, because I mix them, I do, limited imagination here, I do tend to use the same names. This is not the same colour as Robin Eggs Blue paint. It's not far off, but it's not exactly the same, so don't get yourself confused. As if I could confuse anybody, hey? Right, okay, so now we can just get rid of that. And I've got Robin Eggs Blue and I've got corn flour there. And I'm going to get rid of the kettle too. I'm going to put the kettle under the table. Okay, I've got a jug of water. So let's start. We'll start with one of the fabrics. That seems like a good plan. I am going to just get rid of those powder dyes up here. And just change that cloth because I've got deep blue dye on there and I don't know what colour dye I want to put on this yet. What I do know is that if I leave that there, I will get deep blue dye, whether I want it or not. Oh right, okay, there's a nice clean sheet. This is the joy of a flip chart pad, really, is you can just keep turning it over and finding a nice clean bit. Obviously you have to make a bit of a mess en route, like I am doing here, but you can do it. And we can help. Right. Let's take the stencils off here before I dye them. That would be quite a good idea. We'll put those over there. We can get those out if we need them. Right. Okay. So let's put all the ones I don't want to dye just yet over there, and let's start with this. So this is the pomegranates. Now, this, if you remember, fabric was straight off the bolt. Wasn't even ironed when I was printing it. And hang on, there's something. What's that? That's it. So there's nothing in this. It hasn't been pre-washed, and it hasn't got anything in the cloth. If I have time, I would pre-soak my fabric in soda solution. If you remember, I said in order to fix Procyon dye, you need soda ash. We don't want to put it in the dye pot because we don't want to deactivate the dye. So one way of doing it is to make up a soda solution, quite strong, 9 teaspoons in a litre. I put 9 tablespoons in a gallon, and I keep it in one of those lovely containers that you get for poultry manure for the garden, really handy. Or bloodfish and bone also comes in a really handy container like that too. And I just make it up and keep it in there. And once it's made up, it won't go off. And you can just keep, when I get fabric, soak it in there, soak it in that solution for 15 minutes, wring it out, let it line dry. And the soda is then in your fabric. It won't do any harm. So you can keep it like that, again, for months and just pull it out to use. This wasn't. I haven't pre-soaked this. Now I could go and do this now. I've heat fixed my paints, so they're fine. I could go and soak this for 15 minutes now and dry it and then dye it. But I'm too impatient to want to do that. So another way is to apply the dye, which I'm going to do now, and then spray it with soda solution to fix it. When I'm spraying with soda solution, I'm going to use double the strength. So I would use, what's double 9? 18 teaspoons in a litre of water, put them in a sprayer thing and spray them onto the fabric from both the back and the front so that the fabric's really saturated with soda. What I like to do to avoid it being quite so messy is I like to dye it, let it dry, then respray and wet it, because then I can check that the soda is really getting into my cloth. So all of that is in my books. If you've got my books, you don't need to remember this. It's just very simple. So I'm just going to apply the dye to this cloth. I've got it upside down. This is the top. And I just need to decide what colours would I like to do this in. Now, I mean, I've got loads of choice. It's very difficult on here because I've used quite a few colours. I've used greens and blues, and I've used reddy browns. So what I need to think about is what effect will the dye have? I know my paint's going to hold its colour and it's going to kick up with the dye. But if I put a colour very similar to that on, I'm going to knock that right back. Now that is Robin Eggs Blue, and it is not dissimilar to Robin Eggs Blue dye. So if I put Robin Eggs Blue on up here, I'm going to lose some of, it's going to be very gentle. I won't get a heavy resist. Doesn't mean to say I can't do it, just means I need to be aware of it. I look at this and I think I've got two main choices. Do I want to dye it in blues stroke greens, or do I want to dye it in these oranges and browns? Now, if I do the oranges and browns, the orangey brown bits will knock back, all the blues and greens will kick up. If I do it in blues and greens, the blues and greens will knock back in some places and the orangey brown bits will kick up. So I just have to make a decision about what I want to do. I think you can tell by my face, I'm not sure here. I'm going to do this one in blues just because I like them. So I've already got Robin Eggs and I'm going to do it in a colour wash down, running from pale to deep at the bottom because I think that will look nice, and let's hope I'm right. So I've got Robin Eggs and I've got corn flour. I'm going to see what other blues I've got in my dyes that I can add into that. Let's just move that for a minute while I lift these up. God, I'm just remembering over dyeing in black. Maybe I'll do the mushrooms in black. It was exciting over dyeing in black. It was super exciting. That's some mixed up pale turquoise from something we were doing with the MIPS, and I can't remember what we were doing. Why did we end up with mixed up pale turquoise? Oh, I've remembered. Anyway, I don't want that. But I might want ordinary turquoise, and that's pale moss, and I don't want that. Ordinary turquoise, blue black's very deep, indigo is in between, black slate, right, okay, black indigo. That's, I have Robin Eggs Blue. What a numpty. Right, never mind, we've got some fresh Robin Eggs Blue. So I don't think there'll be any more blues. I think that's all my blues there. Happy enough with that. So I'm going to put them up here in order. So that's the lightest, Robin Eggs. Next is turquoise. The next is cornflower. And then comes probably indigo. Then slate, slightly different blue slate, then black indigo and blue black. So I've put those, that doesn't look like black indigo, that looks very much to me like slate. That is slate. That isn't black indigo at all, that's slate. I think that's slate. I think we'll put that there instead of that one. And we'll just put, I've already got myself mixed up. I'm really good at getting mixed up. Okay, so, and blue, black. And black. Not going to get me far, that one. That black will, though. So, I've got a run of colours going from very pale robin eggs right up to a dark black. And I'm going to use those on here. So, I'm on flip chart paper. That's going to absorb my dye. I'm using liquid dye because it's just the easiest way of doing this, and I'm going to paint it on. This is the easiest way you're going to get of dyeing something. And again, I'm just aware that I've dripped on there. But anyway, occupational hazard with me. Put it down, got my gloves on. I'm using 1 inch or 3/4 inch mop brushes, nice and fat. They're going to get a lot of liquid in. The dye is going to absorb into here really, really, really quickly, okay? So it's just going to slurp into this fabric really quickly. Actually, that's not a very sensible place to have put them. Let me move them off a bit to the sides so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is Robin Eggs Blue. It's very pale. And it's going on up at this top, and it soaks in very, very quickly. I could add water to slow down that soaking in, but I don't actually want to, because it would dilute this, and I know it's already a very pale colour. And you can see that up at the top where I put the robin eggs, these prints which were in robin eggs have really been knocked back. So I'm going to get a wet edge. This is a bit like working watercolour wet into wet, and I'm going in with turquoise next. And what I am going to do is start adding water there to blend that up, because what I want, and as ever with me, I'll put a bit up at the top there, I didn't mean to. What I want is a sort of colour wash down here. I don't want sudden gradations. I don't want a sudden big jump. I want this to work as a wash down the page. So I'm adding water in and trying to keep a nice wet edge. It takes a bit of practice to get this because the fabric's absorbing it so fast, but it's worth it because it looks so lovely. And so I'm going to get a good strip of turquoise going. Oh, I quite like that light strip there. I might leave that in there. And then let's put a wet edge. And my next one is cornflower. Now I know this is quite a bit deeper, so I've dipped my brush in water before I put that in to get myself that cornflower a bit lightened. And it can come on down here then. And you can see as the paints get deeper, not the paints, the dyes, sorry. As the dyes get deeper, the paints kick up more. The dark, oh, I've done my usual, I've dripped on the top of my cloth up there. Oh well, I'll just have to change my colours. I've shown you robin eggs up there. I've dripped cornflower all over it, so I'm going to put cornflower in at the top. I honestly didn't do that on purpose. I know all my students will be thinking I did that on purpose because I like the deeper colours. I know they will, but I didn't. I didn't mean to do that, but that's quite pretty, isn't it? So let's put a bit more of this cornflower down here, then I'll need to move my cloth. So it's really soaking this up fast. Whenever I want to make colour changes, I'm adding water to try and blend them and keep some nice blends across here. I'm going to put these down the side so I can move these up to the top. You've seen the paints now, haven't you? The dyes, so I can put them over here. Oh, God, I'm getting in a mess. I always get in a mess, let's be honest. Look at that drop cloth, isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so I'm going to lift that up to there and carry on. So I was in cornflower here, which is a lovely mid blue. The dyes will look a lot darker on the cloth. Not a lot, but they will look darker on the cloth when you add them than they will when you've finished. So just be aware of that. So the next one I want, yep, and I do want it now, is indigo. So I'm going to wet the edge and get indigo in here. And indigo is a beautiful, deep blue. Really, really nice colour. Possibly my favourite blue. This isn't real indigo, this is Procyon indigo, considerably easier to use, and still gives you that absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, rich colour. Now I now need to turn this round because I need to get at that end. Look at that drop cloth, that is going to be so beautiful. Okay, so I need to now, so I'm in with indigo here, really deep. I can't go much deeper than that, but I can go deeper because I've got slate, which is one deeper again on the blues. That's a lovely deep blue. And I actually think down the bottom, I may just go straight into black. because the black, I've got a really dark blue block down there and I'd like it to show. And if I use black, it will. And you can see, hopefully, how powerful the paints are now, because they're really banging up out of this dye. I'm putting a lot of dye on here. I'm not messing around with my dye, I'm getting plenty on. This is why I like the dark cloths, but that's very, very pretty. We've got a gradation of wash running right down it. This is soaking wet. I want to put it up to dry, and I'd rather it didn't drip all over the place. So I'm going to blot it, and the other thing that the blotting will do is anywhere where the dye is sticking to the paint a bit, can you see? It just pulls it off the top of the paint, and it brings these images back really, really powerfully. Whoa, Hillary, dangerous girl. So you can see there's a little bit of dye still sitting on top of these paints. It would come off when I rinse the cloth, but I can get it off at this stage by just doing some judicious blotting, and that gets rid of it. Is anybody asking me anything? Oh, binding. It's the girls binding their stuff for their exhibition. Okay, so I'm going to move this up. Now, I don't really, oh God, look at that drop cloth. That is so beautiful, all those runs of transparent colour. Very exciting. I don't really want to get this end of this on that dark, so I'm going to get myself some, how am I going to do this? Newsprint, it's a good idea. Oh, that piece of cake's still there. It's now probably nearly a week old. I might leave it alone. Well, it's not a week old. It's not a week old. It's from, what days were you here, girls? Wednesday, Thursday. It's from Thursday. So I've got just plain newsprint here, which, yes, I have considered I may need for the toilet. But at the moment, more important than the toilet to me is my beautiful cloth. So I'm going to use it on here just to protect the underneath of this lighter part while I blot it. So let's turn that round. And I can now blot the, I've still managed to get speckles in it. I am useless. I am hopeless. The best way to do this, it doesn't help that I'm trying to do it for a camera here because I'm trying to keep it in the middle. I would normally put it out, lay it on the table and not keep moving it. But again, as I blot, these colours come up more vividly, more intensely, and it also means I can get the piece up to dry. Does the dye stain work? Yes. Yes, it does, which is why I'm working on a flip chart pad. You could do it in the kitchen on the dining table, just put down a flip chart pad and maybe don't do something quite this big. You know, that could help as well. So with that one, let me hold that up for you so you can see. We've got a really nice, well, we've got our lovely pomegranates. Oh, stop doing that. Lovely pomegranates running down and a really nice colour wash effect going down the cloth. So I'm going to put that one over here to start drying. Okay, all my hangers are up high. We'll put it on there. That'll do. That'll do. That's beautiful. I'm loving that. Love, 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 loving it. Okay, got a lot of blue on here. So let's do the other cloth. Same sort of decision here. And we're going to have the same sort of thing. Because we've got all sorts. I'm going to do this in black. I'm going to do this. I might start it in indigo and go through slate and into black. I just fancy doing this really dark because it was so exciting when I played this game at the show. So I think I need to play it here. I could start in cornflower. I could start with, well, that is cornflower. So I don't really, well, shall I stop gibbering and just get on with it? There's a very dark brush. So I'm going to start with a lighter one. And I think I could just put a little bit of cornflower just on this top. You soon get used to me. There's a lot of blue goes on because I love blue. Mind you, this could have looked spectacular as well in russets and browns. It could. Too late for that thought. Right, so that's as much cornflower as it's getting. Again, I want this wet edge. And then I'm going to put indigo in. And I'm going to hope those mushrooms survive the indigo. Yes, they have. They're very similar tonally, so they're going to get knocked back a bit. So let's have this one in lovely... Let's just deepen that top up a bit as well. So we'll put the indigo across here. This looks for all these blues look very similar at the moment on here. They're not. They're actually quite different. And when you can see on the drop cloths, the indigo is actually quite a mid blue. Now that's blue black. I don't want that. I used slate, didn't I? That's black. So was that indigo? No, that's indigo. This is slate then. So I'm going to put slate on here. So I'm just going to have a small run of deep blues at the top. And then I'm going to run into really blue black at the bottom. So far I haven't splattered it on the floor, which I'm quite impressed with myself about. And you don't have to dye it like this. You could do it all in one colour. You could do strips of colour. You can do anything you want. I just rather like it like this. And I love these deep colours. You know, they make me very excited because this kick up of colour there just, well, it does have my heart pounding. Look at those coming up. That beautiful chartreuse and pistachios. I just blot a bit of that dye off the top. I'm not blotting dye out of the cloth. It's impossible to do that. It's in there now. What I'm doing is just taking off the surface of the paint. I wish my underarms wouldn't wobble. I don't want to be that age. Hello, Mr. Blackbird. Hello there. And Bobby Robin. Hello, boys. 2 boys. It's always the boys, isn't it? It's always boys. So if I give that a good blot, it just brings those up really nice and brightly. Even the little misprint like that is still showing absolutely beautifully on there. Really pleased with that. Okay, so we need to move this and turn it so I can do that end. See, this is super exciting at this point, isn't it? Well, I think it is. You know, what was exciting yesterday, printing it, suddenly becomes super, oh, hang on, I've missed a bit at the top. Super, super, super exciting when you're doing this. It's sort of cornflourish, wasn't it? We'll pop that on and we'll blot it so that I don't make too much of a mess. Right, let's pull that down. So I was down to slate here, wasn't I? So I'm going to do slate, carry on with slate, and then I'm going to get into black, I think, because I think the black looks sensational. Really super duper. Super, super, I'm off again. Really super exciting. God, I have a real posh side. I don't have a posh side at all, but I feel I must have if I keep coming out with super. Maybe I've been watching posh programmes. No, I haven't, because I don't really watch much. Look at these popping up. Wait till I blot this and you see, look at this. Gorgeous black. It's quite scary putting black dye on. It can feel quite a leap of faith. And to be honest with you, if you haven't got opaque paint, it is pretty much going to kill your piece stone dead. Because if these were transparent paints or had elements of transparency, I would just have painted the whole cloth basically black and wiped them out. But when you've got opaque paint, you get this fantastic resist. And this is very much like doing sort of a faux type of batik. It's not batik because I'm not using wax, but I'm working with the same principle of putting down one thing, then adding dye and letting my paint act as a resist there. And it does a really good job of it. And they're all popping back up. Beautifully, beautifully, beautifully. Look at them. Look at them. Look, look, look. Look, look, look at that beautifulness. Can you see this bottom bit I'm doing? Where's the camera up to? I don't know what you... Oh my God, I'm getting some beautiful drop cloths here. Let's just, you see that? As soon as I blot that off, up pop those badges. They were just getting a bit lost in there. The dye was sitting on top of them, so give it a good blot. It also makes it quicker to dry. So I would let these dry, and then I'm going to add spray on soda solution to actually fix them. So I would spray that on, keep them damp for 4 hours, which is the working life of your dye. And then you can rinse them and you would have washable cloth. That is absolutely gorgeous. I can't hold it up high enough for you to see it all, but I think you can see it if I hold it there, can't you? I don't think I'm tall enough. Oh, maybe I am. No, you can only see a bit of it there, can't you? Bottom to top, but on there we can... There we go. We can see it all. So I'm going to go and put that one to dry too. I can't tell you how pleased I am with how, let's hold it up close so you can see some of these colours coming up. They're absolutely gorgeous. I'm so pleased with these. So totally pleased with them. So totally pleased. I'm going to have so many of these panels. My house is going to be completely decorated in panels of these. And look at some of this. This is just on the newsprint, but believe you me, this will be going into collage. Some of this, that one's all a bit dark, but this one particularly, look at some of this colour where these transparent dyes are bleeding into each other. Look at an area like that. Got a little bit of white left showing. Isn't that beautiful? Serendipity. And what about this one here? Can you see that? I don't know if you can. I'm just going to put those to one side because they're absolutely gorgeous. Very wet now, but totally yummy. On here, up here, tip you down. I'll tip you down here. Look at this bleeding here. That is absolutely lovely. I'll be using that in collages. Collages! Collages, very similar to colleges, but arges in collages, that's for sure. Right, so we've got a real wet thing here now, so I'm going to put down some more newsprint and let's do the papers, because remember I'm going to use the paper just the same as I use the fabrics. So let's have a look at yesterday's, which will be in these similar colours. So I need to decide what I want to dye these in and what I want to show. So let's start with this one then. Let's start with the top one. That's a good idea, isn't it? So somewhere I've got, I have some slurp of coffee. Okay, where's my brush? Now I have to say, if I put the dark blue over here, it's going to look really exciting too. Let's do it in, let's go with indigo, see what that's like. I've got dark on my brush. Trouble is with me, once I've gone over to the dark side, it's hard to get me back again because I just love these rich colours and the way they kick off against the paints. So you can see on paper it doesn't soak in as fast. That's the first thing, as it does on fabric. It sits on the paper. Paper has a bit of surface tension to it. It sits on the paper a bit longer and you do get chances to pick it up and do dribbles and things. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If you wish. But once you're happy with it, if you then blot it. Did I bring any more newsprint or if I just shovel it all on there? Quite often I will blot it on another piece of paper. So let's do that. It's got a lot of dark in it. I'm not sure I want to blot on any of those. Right, okay. Stop arsing, Hilary. Stop arsing about. That newsprint's strong. Let's just get a sheet of that and blot it on there. If I'm working outside in the summer, I love to work outside in the summer, I can just throw these down on the grass and let the dye just blobble and seep in. But when I'm inside, you see, another total bonus piece of material. When I'm inside, I have to be a bit... I have to get them so that they're reasonable to hang up, which means they can't be dripping wet. And you can see, and you've probably forgotten, but in the background there was dark blue, and that dark blue print has almost disappeared in there. It is there, but it's very much knocked back by the blue I've put over the top. The back's very beautiful too, where the dye seeps through. But that's a really nice, and you can see again how brightly these paints are kicking up from that. So let's do those other ones. Let's try and do one. This one's got quite a lot of dark blue in it, so let's not kill that. Let's do this with something light. Let's try and restrain myself a little bit. Get another brush. So I don't have to do blue either. I am tending to do here. That's robin eggs. Look how beautifully gentle that is. That's a dirty brush, I think. It's got a bit of pink on. Yes, it has, because robin eggs doesn't have a pink tinge to it. It definitely doesn't. So this is robin eggs, which is a really nice, gentle dye. And we'll make this a very gentle piece of material for me to use. So it keeps all the patterns. It just adds a nice, it's one of my favourite ones, a nice gentle colouring in the background there. So that's a nice blue on blue piece, which will look really pretty. And let's blot it again. And we can add to this lovely piece of blotting paper here. And that. That is really pretty. Really, really, really nice, and some nice bleeds of colour going on in there. So there is my, and again, it has bled through. So that one's completely different. It had very similar colours on, well, the same colours on to this one. And you can see the green is still the same and the blue is still the same. This darker blue has disappeared into the background on here, which is slightly annoying me, you know. So I think when that's, I might just overdo that in black so that that darker blue comes back. That's what I might do. That's what I might do. Let's do this in black. Let's keep my pale brush for robin eggs. I'm going to put it in the robin eggs to keep me away from it. And I'm going to double in the black. Double. It's a technical word. And see if I can get these, the dark blue to come up from the background, because I'm not very happy with having lost them in there, because they were part of my pattern. I spent time putting those in. So I may need to wait for this to dry to get much more in, because my paper's pretty saturated. I don't know how much of that, oh yes, it's going in, and my blues are coming back out. I don't know how much of that will actually manage to soak in, because the paper's very saturated with dye at the moment. So let's blot that on. I'll tell you what could look very exciting with black over is this one. Now this one is very freshly painted, and I'm not even sure I ironed it because I got bored of ironing, didn't I? But this could be quite exciting done in black. So let's blot with that. Oh, there wasn't a lot left there, but can you see now that's worked perfectly? That the blues, and now that blue is showing up in the background. If I get it really close, you can see it's now showing there. It's come back through because it's, I've darkened the background to bring that blue back up. So I'm very happy with that, very happy with both of those. I'm going to put the darker ones behind me and the lighter ones in front of me and try and keep them all relatively spaced out. So this one, I think, could be super exciting in a really deep colour. Where's slate blue? Let's put some of this on. Now this is very dark slate blue because I had black on my brush, but I think this could look quite exciting over these colours, because they're going to, hopefully, despite the fact they're very fresh, kick out. Did those other ones kick out? Yes, they did, didn't they? Yes, they did. Okay, so yeah, slate blue, lovely colour. It's a it's a deep blue with a slatey look to it, I think. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, even like that, it's beautiful, you see, and I would love to leave that for that soak in and seep in and go into puddles and make variations, but I can't, I need it off. So let's use our blotty cloth again. I'm loving this newsprint for blotting, it's brilliant. Maybe I should get some of this from the shop, because it's better than deli for blotting because it's absorbent. I need to try what it's like for stitching, but it's certainly going to be great for collage, whatever I do with it. So, and I'm liking the way it's soaking up these dyes. Really nice. That's gorgeous. Now that one I'm going to blot, and I'll probably get these paints coming up brighter, because I'm pretty sure I only did this morning. Some of this dye will be sticking to my paint here. My paints will be a bit sticky. So I'm going to give that a good blot off. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? A beautiful piece of material that is. You can't not like that. Impossible not to like that. Let's stick that back there. Let's look at, because I do tend to just go down, well actually we could do that on the, well, what about doing this one in something a bit different? Let's just turn it over, I'll come back to that blue. About doing this one, you know, the nice thing about these paints, because of their intensity and because of their opaqueness, I can put any colour I like over here. I don't have to stick with blues, and I may be giving the impression that I do have to. So let's get out something other than blues. Let's get out some of my other favourite colours. You'll like the names. Merlot, Burgundy. I'm going to make Shiraz. Should make a Pinot Noir. Nouveau Beaujolais, Beaujolais Nouveau, Chianti. All the nice reds. Burgundy-ish mix. Yeah, that was a mix I made with the Mips, which would work nicely here. And then there's Fig, which is the most gorgeous purpley red. Maybe I'll go with those, because I think I quite fancy those. And maybe should I put a lighter one of those in, like a bit of No. I was going to say a bit of, I'll get it at coral sand would be good with these, is a kind of paler orangey colour, but actually I fancy going down, because this looks quite oriental, I fancy going down quite a deep red burgundy fig route with this. So that's Merlot. It is my favourite red. It's a really, it's a blue red, so it's a cool red on the cool side of the colour wheel. For those that don't worry about that, if it sounds confusing to you, you probably don't need to know, but it is a cooler red. Poppy red would be a much warmer, orangier red. This red actually has a lot of elements of blue in it. So I need a clean brush again, and let's start off with that Merlot colour. It's really fabulously wine colour, really, isn't it? Lovely, almost pinky red, isn't it? But pinky, a blue pink, not a sugary pink red. Lovely, lovely colour. And then I'm going to put on, I think this is the one that's called Burgundy-ish Mix. Burgundy obviously is deeper and darker. And I might keep these colours on here. I might keep the fig for something else. Doesn't that burgundy look stunning on there? Let's put some more of this, some more of the Merlot up here. That is going to look beautiful. So, and this is where you really see how opaque the paints are, because despite the fact that I put red over blue, it's not turning orange. It is going to stay the colours I want it to be. Let's get out another sheet for blotting from under here. Beautiful. I love the way it's soaking it up. It's really exciting the way this paper is soaking up the dye and making other patterns. Oh, hang on, that's no good. And don't do that, that's blue. Anybody seen where my red brush is? Is that what I chucked up there? No. Anybody see what I did with my red brush? Oh, that would be it. It is. I've just missed a little bit there. Don't like gaps. And I've missed some there. That's just beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Now, the burgundy hasn't gone in that deep. I think it's sort of there. I'll see what that's like when it dries. I might add more burgundy, and there, that is where I added water. Let's put the edge. Let's put a bit more of that. Let's put some more of this in. I really liked the depth of this, and in sort of mimicking a bit the patterns that I put on the paper, that kind of it's almost like an oriental screen blocking off patterns. I liked those. And let's blot that. That's better. It's taken a bit more. So all those colours have stayed there. The blues have stayed blues. The greens have stayed green. Everything's stayed true, and I can add whatever colour I like over the top. I really like that. That's kind of gridded it, so I do like a grid. It's kind of given it a gridding look with the colours. Everything will stay true. So your choices are, you can do anything you want, really. You can add anything you want over the top of these paints. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Let's do that in fig, because fig's a really delicious colour. Or should I do it in burgundy? Be lovely in burgundy, wouldn't it? Burgundy, or do I do it in fig? Fig's talking to me, so fig's talking to me. Let's get in. And it's fig with a burgundy brush in it. This is, oh, that's actually quite light for fig. Bit more purpley than I think fig maybe usually is. Maybe I'm just forgetting what fig normally looks like. Perhaps I am. Anyway, it's absolutely delicious. I'm going to darken that down, because the fig I was thinking of was a little darker than that. So I'm just going to wallop some black in it. Not too much, because I don't want to completely wipe out the figginess of it. I'd like to keep it figgy, but I want it a darker figgy than that figgy. And that's another nice thing about adding dye like this, is you can see exactly what you're getting. You're kind of forewarned. It's not like an immersion bath where you get the material out 4 hours later, and in my case always get a horrible surprise because you have almost certainly put complementary colours together because you love that, and what you've done is you've created brown mud. So for me, dyeing like this, I can see what I'm doing. I can alter it as I go if I don't like it. So have I just put dye on my nose? No, I don't think I have. I had a jolly good try. Now, where's that nice piece of red paper? Let's blot this one. Oh, God, that's gorgeous. I just want to leave that soaking in and keep that depth. But let's be brave. and blot it off. It is great in the summer, which we will have again. It has to arrive when you can do this outside. And you really can just chuck them down on the ground and let them soak in. Isn't that beautiful? How beautiful is that? That is very beautiful. What a lovely combination of colours. And again, I'm going to blot that to get any dye that's sitting on top of the paint off, because we only painted this less than 2 hours ago. So, and I can see some of this fig is sitting on that green. Not a lot I can do about it. It's just because I've over dyed so fast. But the nice thing about this paint is it does let you can do that, and you can get away with it. That, when it's waxed, and I will wax these papers, is going to be absolutely delicious. I just think that is edible. That is edible. I could slap that on my face and lick it. It's so beautiful. It is so ish. Colour the grass. Yes. Oh, I've coloured the grass and coloured the plants. Yeah, absolutely. It makes your garden much, much, much more lively. I'm just going to see if I can see fig sitting on that. I'm just going to see if I wet the tissue. Sorry about spitting. Yeah. I've used baby wipes, but I can't find them. So I'm just going to, don't look. Spitting on tissue. Tis just getting that bit off there. Okay, I'm loving that. Absolutely gorgeous. I love that piece of material. I'll put that over there. Got a few more here. Another blue one with deep blue on. So let's decide what we want to do with that. Depends what I want to kick up. I can put pale blue on it and everything will come up with the robin eggs. I could put turquoise on. I could put the mid blues and I'll lose quite a lot. Or I can go in for different colours. I could use the burgundies. That burgundy was nice, wasn't I? Maybe I'll use, I've got coral sand up there. Maybe I'll try coral sand. I do like coral sand. Let's put some bit of coral sand on there. And this is coral sand that's actually had some red. I've just remembered added into it for some of the things we were doing with the online class. We added a bit of red into my coral sand because that's what I wanted to do. And it's very lovely, but this is coral sand it's usually more corally, less red. And I'm adding water to make some nice light tones. So whenever I want to lighten it, I'm just adding more water onto there. And I could on there. That's really nice, but what if I now put a big splat of burgundy? Which was burgundy? Oh, I think this one. What if I put that along there and let that run down? Whoa, it's running fast. Let that run down the paper, and let's do it to the side and get some really nice drips, because drips are lovely. It's nice for all those geeky kids at school that at this stage of life, drips are lovely. We like drips. Oh, poor old Andrew Simpson. He was the one at our school. God, we were nasty to him. I mean, we didn't mean to be. Kids aren't, you don't really realise, but I think about it now. I think, gosh, how cruel. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just lovely dye patterns on there? Really delicious. They're making me happy anyway. And that's the main thing. Me being happy. I think so. I think so. Right, okay. Let's give that a good old blot. That's lovely. I like that very much indeed. Those colours going on there. So I've got a completely different coloured background and foreground, but I'm okay. I think that looks nice. That makes interesting material to use. And all of these will work together because they've all got the same coloured paints on them. I'm just adding in different colours of dyes. And I'm probably adding in more different colours than I would do normally because I want you to see how they work and how you can basically choose anything you want to go over these. 3 left. Okay. I'm going to do that last because it's very pale. Now, what about some of these? Look at that piece of paper. Isn't that gorgeous? Those dye pans on there, I'm taking that out to dry. Oh God, I'm running out of places. I'm running out of places. I'm actually in quite a big quite a big space in here with quite a lot of tables, but I'm still running out of places. I thought that's quite nice too. That's rather nice too. Oh, look at that one. Where that's dripped through into that gap. That is stunning, that piece of paper. That's the sort of piece of paper I could use in collage, and I can also photograph, take into something like Paint Shop, and play. I'm going to take all of those off because they're gorgeous, and play with and come up with whole new materials and images to use. You know, it never ends when you've got your imagination on. I'm not sure that's the right expression, but when you've got your imagination on, you can just do all sorts of things. So we've got these ones with this Mocha in. Burgundy is kind of beckoning to me again because it could look really nice against this Mocha, couldn't it? It will kick up the brown. And we could go with the Sienna as well, which is a really nice, oh, it's there, that's good. There's Sienna, which is a nice orangey brown colour. That I need to make a walnutty colour, this sort of colour dye. Haven't got anything that's that sort of colour, but I wonder what happens if, oh, I tell you what would look nice on there is grey. Where's grey? I think that would look really sophisticated, a thing that I do like being occasionally. It always makes me feel happy if I've had a sophisticated moment. There we are, great. Pine. Yeah, pine could look good on there too. Anyway, I'm going to go with grey. I'm going to go with grey and sienna and see if I can make some sort of chocolatey colours. So that's sienna and that's grey. That's near enough. That's pink actually, but never mind. So let's put some grey on first. I just know grey is going to look lovely with these colours. So it's going to make it look so, look at that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? How sophisticated is that? The answer is it's very sophisticated. That's gorgeous. Right, so that's the grey, and then I'm going to start mixing in some bits of sienna, and it's giving me exactly what I want, which is a kind of deep walnutty brown. That's what I'm after. A very greyed out brown, which is probably why I picked up grey, if I'm honest. There's usually logic to what I do. I just don't always know what it is, and I think that's the best way to learn about colours. Don't worry about the theory too much to begin with. Just pick things up and do what you like, and then have a look at what you've done, and if it works, then think about why. I think that's going to be lovely. I'm going to blot it. Tempted to blot it on this one, although that one has, this one has more space. So I'll blot it on here. Let's just pick up that spare colour. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh yes, 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 yes. The more you do this, the more, I mean, it's pretty easy anyway, but the more innate it becomes because you just get used to the colours and how they're going to behave. That's quite hard to see the colour I've got in the background there. I've actually made such a good match for my Mocha, I'm quite impressed with myself, that I virtually knocked it out in the prints. It's there. But I have made such a good Mocha colour that those prints have almost disappeared. So what I'm going to do there to bring them back is get more grey on. And that should hopefully take that colour to a more greyed off brown, even more grey brown, which will bring those prints back. And let's blot that one onto one of these. Blot it onto here. So I'm blotting it onto another sheet of paper. Of course I'm still going. Of course I'm still going. I'd be insulted at the thought that I might not be. That's better. That's better. I like the blot on there. We'll come back to that. But that's by just greying that down another tone, I've brought back these Mocha seed pods so that they all show. I think that's really lovely. These again were only done this morning, so I'm going to give this a good blot. Particularly over these light colours like the yellow. It isn't yellow, it was chartreuse, wasn't it? Chartreuse stroke pistachio and the robinette. That is beautiful. That is really, really, really beautiful. Well, I think so. I think that's so sophisticated. I'd have that on my walls. Imagine the walls covered in that. Beautiful would it be? It would be just stunning. This is why I put barrier cream everywhere, because I do tend to get quite affectionate with my materials. Right, so this one, we've got some of that nice deep brown going through it. Could be quite interesting on here to add some green, because we've got green in there. Let me see if I've got lime. Yes, I think that could be quite exciting. Oh, not much lime. Okay, so we'll just use this little bit. More brushes? Yes. Oops, that's a lid. That's a lid. Right, so lime is a lovely bright colour. And I just kind of think it would look nice mixed in with this mockery colour. As I think Robin Eggs Blue would. Let's have a bit of that as well. I think that would mix in nice. Well, that's Robin Eggs Blue with quite a lot of lime in it, as you can see. It's not really Robin Eggs Blue at all. I think those mix in really nicely on there and make a very interesting piece of material. Really interesting piece of material. Completely different to where I overdyed it in grey. Totally different look to it, but lovely. So we've got gentle colours on there, so I'm going to blot that on this one, which I want gentle. But hopefully that will just make it a bit more interesting in the background if we do a bit of a blot on it. Wow. Learn to say wow about your own stuff. It's really good for you. Your inner artist loves to hear it. They love to hear you going, wow, when you look at the pretty things they've made for you. Make sure you admire them, then they'll come and do it again. That is spectacular. Some areas of that in here are just so beautiful. I mean, I'm loving this I've lost the limes a bit. I've lost the limey green underneath the limey dye. And we can probably, I'll just dip my brush in water so it's not too hefty. I think if I put, hopefully, a bit of grey in over those areas, I can probably bring that back a bit so that I can see those prints. I'd quite like to see those prints. So let's give it a good, yeah, that's better. They've come back a bit. They didn't need much, just a bit, just to help them to pick up. Okay, so put that one to dry. And I'm on my last two papers now. Very, very happy with these. Really pleased with them. So let's do...
tea or coffee, darling?
Tea, please. Tea? That's my tea mug.
Sugar or no sugar?
No sugar, thank you. Oh, now where do we go with this one? It's gorgeous, isn't it? I can either go down the light route or I can go down the dark, deep route. Thanks, Dorothy. Or I could go in the blue route. I could put some robin eggs on here. It might look nice as I've got a mink colour. She says just get out every dye I own. Bit of a colour monkey. Let's try this. This might be too pale and it might be boring, but it might look really good. This minky colour. Oh, I think that looks lovely. That looks delish, doesn't it? It does. It does. And let's put some Robin Eggs Blue in those gaps and see what that looks like. Do I like that? Is it bold enough for me? Well, it isn't bold. It's very gentle, but is it exciting enough for me? Do I want to make it more exciting? Where do I stand on the excitement levels of that? I think I could put a bit of grey down there and kick some of that up a bit, grey that off a bit. And maybe a bit through there. I don't know. I'm going to blot that and see what I feel. See how I feel after blotting. Give it a blotting. And let's see what I think then. Tell you what, my blotting paper's looking nice again. Wow. Fab. Now then. I love the Robin Eggs Blue bits. I like the mink bits, but I think I'd like, well, I don't know actually, that's a lovely gentle paper. It's the gentleness that's always difficult for me to deal with. I always think, oh, come on, let's kick it up. But actually, that will be very useful like that. So I think I might try and just put that to one side. Because if I put that one against this one, think of material palettes. I've got a really light one, I've got a mid-tone one, and then over here got some fabulous deep toned ones. So I've got a really nice set of, I'll get those in a minute to show you that set of materials. Let me do my last piece, which is this one. And this one I want super gentle. So because I've painted it, I've put the printing on gentle. This would look mega exciting if I overprinted it dark, you know, if I overdyed it dark. Because all these little patterns would come up. I don't know if I can resist doing that now, having said it. Let's show you how it would look gentle. That's how it would look gentle. And let's blot some of that nice gentle colour off onto here. Thanks, Dorothy. I can see you passing on information there. Thank you very much. I should keep looking up. I just keep getting a bit absorbed in what I'm doing. I know. I won't be using this on the bottom. Believe you me, I'd rather sort of, I just think I'll probably take the hairdryer. I'll just come out the toilet and blow dry. That seems like a good idea to me. Probably a lot more hygienic as well. Okay, so that is a lovely, gentle piece of paper like that. Really, really, really useful. But it would be so exciting if I put darker colours on it. Like that. Let's go for that mockery brown that I made. And I can't remember, I made that with sienna, didn't I? And grey. So, let's put sienna on. Again, I may have issues in getting this to soak in because I've got a lot of paint on here, a lot of dye on here already. And add in that grey. And then over here, I might take it through then. So from that to pure black. Why not pure black? That will be super duper exciting. Just let myself go out on a happy bang. We've got half an hour. We could do a bit of stenciling as well. That's looking gorgeous, isn't it? How delish does that look? That looks very delicious. Right, one last blot. Got to put a brown blot on here, I think, because I think it could look really exciting with a bit of a brown blot on. Let's try not to do too much, but because obviously where they mix, they're going to make very dull. But it is rather glorious, isn't it? Let's do that again. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Wipe that off there. It's not as dark as it could be, and that's because I'd already saturated the paper. If I want that darker, I'd need to come back to that. But actually, I'm quite happy with that as it is. It's still a gentle paper because the printing's gentle on it. It's got a very all over patterned, gentle look. Let me just blot it, because again, we've only just done this to get dye off the top of these paints and bring back some of that brightness. I mean, you might not want to, you might want them a little bit knocked back. And you can always, of course, go back to these after you've dyed them and after they've dried and print again on top. I prefer to print first, dye second, because I think you get much more blended, integrated materials that way. If you dye first, print second, the prints just sit on top. This way the prints become a kind of integral part of the material, and I really, really like that. So if we just look at these again, let's cork up the dyes. Let's cork up the dyes and get them out of the way. Then I can lift some of these materials on here so that you can see. Thank you, Janice. I love that. Oh, wow, fantastic. That's the sort of comment I love to hear. Lots of oh, wow, fantastics. You can't do too many for me, girls. Now, I've no idea which is burgundy and which is burgundy-ish mix anymore now, so they are now interchangeable colours. My dyes do tend to come out funny colours often because I get my lids mixed up. I don't do it on purpose. I just always do it. It always happens. Okay, Merlot, we know that's Merlot. That's an easy one. That's Robin Eggs Blue up there. I haven't got a lid for that. No, that's grey. That's burgundy-ish mix there, might be. Fig is there. And then I seem to be missing a lot of blue lids. One fell on the floor, didn't it? Black, no, that's blue black. That's black black. That's blue black. Where, oh, hang on. A little stash over here. Ah, there we go. Indigo is, that's indigo. blue, black. No. That's blue, black. That's black, black. That's coral sand. I'm just putting the lids black on because I know how easy it is for me to make a spectacular mess here. Now, I must have lids as well for turquoise. I won't have for cornflower and robin eggs blue because I just made them. But I will have for turquoise. There we go, turquoise. So all these ones that I've put lids on, I can put away and out of the way so that we don't make a mess. They're fab, aren't they, Lindy? You've made a good choice there. They're a very nice set of blocks, those. They're all lovely. They're all lovely. Right, let's put all these away, just so I don't, because this will stain, and I'm lucky in the studio here, it doesn't matter too much, but I'd kind of prefer not to stain the whole house in dye. Just put those in there. I'll sort them later. And oh, there's that one. And I'm going to put the 2 open ones. God, this is dangerous. I've got a tray down here with 5 open dies in. But as long as I don't kick it, I'll be fine. It'll all be fine as long as I don't kick it. And I'm going to do my level best not to kick it. So those are my drying cloths. Those are all tissues. And you can, of course, use the tissue for collage as well. I mean, I've stopped it because I've just got so many materials, but I used to keep all of these and use them in collage because, of course, you get some amazing patterns on these. You get some really nice blends of colour. But I just get so much stuff, you know, you have to draw a line somewhere at some point, right? Put all those dirty brushes in there. Let's just have a look at these ones particularly. You know, there was that one, which was kind of mid-tones. That was lighter tones. And then this one, which is the darker tones. And you've got a lovely palette of materials to use together there. Those work really nicely together as a palette for anything you wanted to use them for. And then, of course, I've got those nice things in another. Oh, no, that's the dark one. That's a different pattern. That's the dark one, isn't it? So that's those seed pods in 3 variations. And then there's also the fig variation. And there is the, yeah, beautiful fabrics. Those would be as a collection of fabrics, wouldn't they? They're absolutely stunning. They're just really beautiful. And then we've got that lovely dark one with the leaves on. We've got this really light one. We've got the red. We've got the corally one. This beautiful deep red one and that brown one there. So they're all drying. I'm going to put all those away to one side to dry. And then just pop them down there for the moment. That'll do. Almost certainly doing a bit of infiltration there. And we'll just have a quick 20 minutes of stenciling. And then, thanks Angel, thank you. Whoa, yummy. Fresh cup of tea arriving. Can't beat that, yummy. Okay, so I can take the gloves off now. I don't need to worry. Paint may make me dirty, but won't harm me. So let's just do a few stencils on, I mean, the quickest thing to do them on is paper. So let's have a look at some of them on paper. Are there any in particular that anybody wants me to try out? Or can I just have a free choice? You see, now I do it, I think, oh, let's go on fabric, but let's not. Let's go on paper, because paper's quick. I mean, that's one of my favourites. We did that yesterday, didn't we? The Eastern Willow. That's not one of mine, but mine can be. And I think we did that. There's some of these bubbles, and I do love bubbles. With all these things, really, it's a case of I'm going to do it on fabric because I want to. It's in my head now. Ooh. Yes, basically, they would. They would. That's basically how they'd be used. Yes. I can use these things for anything I want. When I'm making materials, I don't actually plan what I'm going to use them for usually while I'm making them. I mean, the long panels I have done, but normally I don't. I just start and work with what I've got and see how it behaves. I find that a better way of working. It's just much more freeing for me. I think I'll just keep that lot there. I've got some really nice colour mixes going on under there. Anybody, oh, there's the trays. I've got the trays. Amazing. I've got some trays. Right. Let's start with bubbles. Why wouldn't you start with something called bubbles? It's just asking to be started with. The wall can take that lot. There's the stencils. We'll put those there. So this one is called Bubbles. It was made using my antidepressants. You know, the blister pack that the pills come in, which is a really annoying blister pack because sometimes when you push the pill out, there are time release capsule. The capsule opens, at which point the time release aspect is gone and my pills are all over the floor. And that is that's an annoying thing to happen because the doctors won't, you know, for obvious reasons, give me spare, well, not obvious to me actually, but they won't give me spare ones. So I can end up in a nasty situation where I haven't got, where I'm running short, which isn't good. Okay, let's get these up. The old, where's Robin Eggs gone? Where has Robin Eggs gone? Can't be far. It's used too often, right. Let's just do a bit of playing with these. So I'm just going to add white into this. This paint might be a little bit dry now. But it should be okay. I've made that very, very, very light, but that could look nice in the background. So let's so there's plenty of space on these for you to use your roller, and basically you just roller it through and voila, you get really, really, really nice patterns. Every one of those is different. It's they're just unique patterns, and you can use these however you like. They're just like any other stencil, except that they are hand drawn or hand printed. So there's no, I'm about to make up another word, there's no homogenization. There's no homogenization of them. So it's not something that's been designed on a computer, and there's nothing wrong with things that have been designed on a computer before anybody has my head off for that. Nothing wrong at all. But I always love things that have the hand of the artist in them. And these have the hand of the artist in the stencils, you know, even in just a little simple thing. And I'm turning it around as always, just to get my bubbles going in different directions, because I think that's interesting. And I could just do one layer, but I'm not going to, as always. I'm going to do more than one layer. Of course I am. So I'm going to blot my stencil at this point, find myself, I need a nice piece of blotting paper. Just to try and keep it a little bit clean so it doesn't need washing too often, because I don't like washing them at all. But these give some really nice off prints as well. These are going to be absolutely gorgeous. You're talking about something that I'm again coming in partway through a conversation. I can see it there. So let's use this lovely Robin Eggs blue on here. I think there's enough on here. So I'm just going to go back over. Now I should have a small bubbles, but I don't think I have got a small bubbles. There is an A5 bubbles, because I know it's a real nightmare one to cut. But I don't think I've got one. I think it's a bit like the A5 doodah. I think we've only done it recently, and I haven't got one. Okay, I'll make do with this. I will be brave. So things always look better layered up, to my mind, in my humble opinion. They always, you know, if one layer looks nice, 2 looks better, and 3 probably would look even better than that. We'll soon find that out. So let's just wallop that on there. Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. It's just a nice, try to do some different textures and patterns that suggest different things. I mean, this despite being made from antidepressants, I should have called it antidepressants, shouldn't I? Despite being made from antidepressants, is a lovely organic movement, I think. Bubbles in water. It's a very, it's gentle. Some of the others are a lot more graphic. You know, the checks and the oh, I'll tell you what I haven't used my check blocks. Let's do that next. We'll do some of the checked stencils, and then we'll add in blocks and see what that's like. 20 minutes. And I will have to go then because shitloads to do. Shitloads to do. Don't want to have shitloads to do, but I always do have shitloads to do. Right, let's blot that off. You can see a lovely off blots. Off blots, they're going to be gorgeous when we over dye them. And then I think I'm going to go in with my delicious third colour that I've been using because I really like it, which is this Mocha. Let's add, tell you what I could add to that would be nice. I've got a shimmering version of that somewhere. Well, actually this is called Walnut, but I'm sure I did a pale, that's Walnut, which I love, but I thought I did a pale Mocha shimmer. Well, I know I did. I know I did, it's just not there. I can't see it. Okay, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll use Walnut, which is gorgeous. So Walnut is a kind of slightly deeper shimmering version of Mocha, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It may be my favourite colour, but there again, it may not be. There's lots of things. You don't have to keep using the same stencil. So let's change. Let's use a different stencil, she says. Let's just use a different one on here. There's those lovely... what do I think would look nice over here? I mean, sometimes it's good to try something that you don't think would look nice at all. Just to say, oh, let's put some rose hips on here. Oh, this is a nice rose hippy one, look. This has got loads of rose hips on. Let's do that one. Somewhere there's scattered rose hips, and I don't think I've got that either. Somehow I'm not getting all my own stencils, which isn't right at all. Because the one person that should be getting them is me. Oh, and I've got a nice rose there as well. Sorry, there's thoughts going through my head. Could you hear that? Could you hear the buzzing and grinding of gears? Sort of thinking I could put rose hips on there and then put roses on top, and that could be quite nice. Let's do that. So let's lighten this blue so I can put another layer of, and I'm going to do pale rose hips. So in a paler blue, these are rose hip clusters. And you aren't going to be able to see those, but I can. I will have to do those on a separate sheet for you to see these. It's a lovely stencil. What I'll do is I'll finish this and then I'll use these on another sheet because I've done those so pale, which is how I wanted them. They're pretty much, you're not going to see them at all. They're there and they will show, you've seen how the light bright colours do kick up out of the background. Let's do them on here so you can actually see what they look like. I do love designing things. That's so pretty. How pretty is that? What a pretty stencil. Even though I say it myself. And I just always do say it myself, just in case nobody else does. It ensures that I get somebody saying it's pretty if I say it myself, doesn't it? And this one, you don't have to use all the clusters on it. So if you don't want it, what it will come out as is slightly gridded. There's a surprise with me. Slightly gridded because of the way I've designed the stencil. You will get a slight gridding of it, but you don't have to keep it like that. You can go into those gaps and use individual elements from it. Let's just put some down the edges to fill them in. So I can put one in there. I can put one in here. And I can fill this in as much or as little as I would like to. And I could, of course, be changing colours, and I could still change colours. Let's fill this one up. And there is another rose hip. I think this is rose hip clusters. I think there's scattered rose hips. I'm not very good at names, really. I need some more imaginative names for them. But anyway, the scattered rose hips, rose hip clusters, rose hip cluster, or it might be rose hip clusters pattern. I might have used the pattern word in there. That's quite helpful for me sometimes, is the pattern word. So yeah, I like that. I'm going to blot that one. I'm just going to blot it here because I want to move fast now. And on a drop cloth is fine. And then I could then add on to this one. We know what I'm going to do on that one. I've already decided that. I'm going to add a rose, but on here I could, oh, there's a big rose there. And, oh, on here I was going to add, there's a bigger rose hip. So let's do that, see what that looks like. very gentle colours I'm using on here, but that's nice. Look, a change of scale. Oh, where is it? There, change of scale. I think that's always something interesting to use. I'm going to remove that drop cloth because I've blotted on it and it's really sticky. So a change of scale always looks interesting. Change of imagery can look really interesting too. So let's do this. I mean, this would be, you know, I've got a theme of roses. I want to make some rosy materials. So again, 2 or 3 stencils, and I have got innumerable choices. And of course, there is a set of rose hip blocks as well that you can add to this collection to play with. So lots of different options. So let's do that, and then let's say I want to put some more on there. Done it again, put it on the drop cloth, it's going to make it sticky. I'm getting tired, I'm not going to do much more now, girls. I'm just giving you an early warning because I can feel I'm getting tired and I'm starting to do daft stuff. Right, okay, I've got the big, there's a small one somewhere with lettering on. Let's take that out because I'm going to stick everything to it otherwise. Small one here with lettering on, so I can add this in as another element on here. So let's do this with this magenta. They are pretty, they're all pretty. Well, some of them are pretty, some of them are graphic. This is one of my favourites. I love these words. I like words. I like anything with script on. It's what makes us human, isn't it? Our ability to communicate. And being a communicator, I just really like that, and I think that adds a gorgeous element into that. Just love it. I think that looks, so we've got 3 different stencils on here now, all connected, all with a connection. So you've got 2 different scales of patterning, and then we've got some script, which adds a whole different element onto there. But a nice one, and I might change the colour of the script now, I think. Don't do that on your drop cloth, you've done that so often, Hilary. Find a piece of paper and block it on that. Let's just take it off on the edges of here. That's it cleaned off a bit, and let's put those words in, and let's change the colour I'm using. Let's deepen up this blue a bit with, we used the very pale there, didn't we? I could put in darker robin eggs and see what I get. I did. Duracell bunny, me. Duracell bunny. I was actually up quite late last night. That's what's got me tired. It's not my nips. Let's use some of this. This is teal. Actually, that isn't teal. That's peacock. I think teal is bluer than that. That's peacock, I believe. So this is peacock, but I've mixed it in with Robin Eggs Blue just to give me a kind of slightly deeper Robin Eggs Bluey, which I think will look nice on here. And it does. There's me being right again. Look at that, love that combination of that teal and that chocolatey walnut colour. That is very, very, very nice. I like that a lot. That's a really nice piece of material. And again, I don't have to use whole bits. I can take elements of this and print them to go into places I want to. You can, don't be frightened. That's the best bit of advice. Stop thinking that it matters, because it doesn't. Stencil on a piece of paper and some paint. So stop feeling there's rights and wrongs about it all, and just enjoy yourself. And I think you'd be really surprised actually how far just enjoying yourself takes you. It's a very powerful thing to do. That's really nice. I think that's a lovely piece of material. I want to put some of this lovely teal now onto, I need to blot that again. The blotting is getting to be pretty much of a nuisance to me now, because I just haven't got room. This is the timer to show when I finally have to admit that I need a break, because I just can't move anymore. I can't put anything down, I'm losing things. And I can see the girls looking at me and tutting. And eventually I'll say, yeah, okay, I need to clear up a bit before I go any further. So, that's a really nice blot off piece of paper. That's going to be lovely. I'm going to put, we've got bubbles on there, and we've got, let's put those rose hips on again. They're on there already, but let's put them on in teal, because they might show more, mightn't they? Well, they will show more, because it's deeper. It's not teal. This is peacock mixed in with robin egg blue. Oh, they don't show that much more, do they? Well, they do show more. They do show more. They definitely show more. I think they show more. I think they show more. That's pretty. They do show. They have added a lovely scattered element to that. Oh God, I've got enough that needs blotting. What's that up there? Oh, that's my, that's actually drop pot, so that's okay. I could blot on here. I like to blot it off them because it just stops them getting so planted up, and it means that I have to wash them as often. So I do quite like to take the time to do that. And then I'm going to do, I said I would do, and I think it would look nice. Let's do it in 2 different sizes. I've got, so there's a double rose and a triple rose, both are lovely. And 2 different sizes, A4, A3. So I'm going to turn these, I might do, let's see, let's start with one over here in this nice Mocha. I think I've just got that slightly off-pieced, but never mind. Beautiful. Just so pretty, 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 pretty. So I could carry on with that, and I'm going to show you before I finish that these ones with the pattern on like that, you don't have to, I'm printing them here as some sort of panel that I might use as a centerpiece for something. You know, if you wanted it for cushions or stuff like that, you might do it like this so that you had some variety. Oh God, blotting. Right, it's not going to get blotted, it's just going to have to wait. Have I got small 2-part rows? I can see I've got big 2-part rows. I was hoping for small 2-part rows. Would have been nice in there, something different. Okay, can I fit? Okay, we'll put the big one on there. I just want some variety in my prints. That's what I'm looking for. It's just some variety so that they all look a bit different. So one like that might be something that, I could either carry on, I could use that as a feature, I could cut them out and applique them onto something, I can do anything I like. I could make a great long panel like that. Actually, that would make a really nice, I don't know, top for a window, table runner, whatever you want to make. I don't know what I'll make with it. I just make the materials and then I see what I'm going to make with them. But I just wanted to show you the last thing I'm going to do, if I can find a piece of paper. If you've got a stencil like this that has quite strong imagery on it, you don't have to use it as that image. You can still use it for patterning, the same as the blocks. If you remember with the blocks, if a block's got an image on, you can still break it up and make it into a pattern. So I can print this in the same way that I would print a pattern stencil. Just moving my paper around and adding different elements of it. The versatility of these things just hangs in your imagination, to be honest, and what you can think of doing with them. You don't have to use all of them all the time. You can use them in different ways. I'm going to have to go and put those into wash in a minute because I haven't actually blotted any of them. Let's use the, let's get something off that. Almost. Right, let's use some of that nice tealy colour, some of this peacocky colour. Put a bit of that on here. So this is the 3-part one now. So I'm going to put some of these on in a different colour and make more patterns. Overprint, colour on colour. And now this doesn't look like something that you would use as a feature anymore. This looks like something that you would use as an all-over patterned rosy piece of fabric, just different to the other ones, very different to the ones with the rose hips. And I could pick up the rose hips and start putting those in the gaps. That could be quite nice. Learn to think, just to think, well, what could I do? What could I do? What could I do? How could I make this more interesting? How can I extend this thing's possibilities? What else, you know, obviously this is what it's intended for, although I very rarely know what things are intended for. I never read the instructions on art stuff because I don't want to know what somebody else did with it, honestly. I want to think for myself about what I'd like to do with it. Now, where was the little rose? There's little rose. Okay, so let's put that in another colour. Let's go with this green. I think there's a bit left on there. Not much, but I can just top that up with, it's getting topped up with shimmer kiwi because that's what's come to pour. I normally have Hat's brown, hate brown. Mocha's gorgeous colour. I mean, I'm not keen on brown, but the Mocha's a lovely colour. I'm just going to blot this because I can feel the paint sweat and putting a lighter colour on. Let's give it a chance. Okay, and this also. I'm going to give that, if I can find, sort of, excuse me, tissue. Just get some of that off there. Right, so let's put some of this lighter one in. I'm just looking for gaps, really. Spaces where I can put it, where I can see gaps. That's nice, like that. I think there may be somebody at the door by the sounds of that. Anybody else's dog, cat reacting? Milo would be reacting to that if he could hear it. Little shit. So I'm going to put this one across, and by now, really, it's not actually that clear what the stencil was in the first place, and that's what I like. I kind of quite like breaking them down like that, so that we don't know what we've got. That looks... Shut up! Not sure that worked. I think that was just hopeful.
Come here.
Oh, don't be nasty to him.
That was him, not me.
You beat up my dog. I shouldn't have moaned. So that looks really nice, and then let's just really go for it on this one, and let's put another pattern in. What should we put? Not that I wouldn't use the big rose hips. I might use the small ones on there if I could find them. Oh, I know what would look nice on. Oh, I know what would look nice on there. She says, saying, I know what would look nice on there, and I know what would look nice on there. See, some of these might. I don't particularly want to get it dirty at this stage, but you know, some of these lovely little leaves that could look pretty. But I'm thinking of this nice swirly one. I think I might design one of those this week and get it into the collection because we need one. We need a swirly badger. Until then, this is a stencil studio one, and it is a nice stencil. Let's put some of this in now. What colour? I think back with the brown. And I'm just going to use this nice swirling design to add even more movement into that. And I've no idea whether it will work, and I don't care because I'm just prepared to try things out and see what works and what doesn't. And 9 times out of 10, it works beautifully. As this has, I think that's a very successful little addition on there. I think that just knocks that bright green back a bit instead of it being so dominant and forward. And it puts a nice movement, and I would like to do that also in the peacocky green colour, which means wiping off my stencil bits. And I'm going to just add some of this colour too, bring this back forward. So I'm building up layers here. So I've got the bottom layer of roses, and I'm putting the top layer of swirls on, which pulls that colour up. How do I know all this stuff? Well, A, I'm very clever, obviously, but B, probably more crucially than the very clever bits, I play a lot. And I didn't read all the theory first, I did it all first, and I've added the theory afterwards. And I just observe what's happening. I'm not frightened to have a go. I don't mind it going wrong. When it does go wrong, it's as useful often as ones that go right, because they teach me things. And as time goes on, my guesses get better and better as to what will work. So I really like that. I think that's a really lovely piece of material, and I just did want to do that because I know if you buy one of these ones with the rose on, you'll think all you can do with it is use it as a feature rose stencil. You can't. You can use it in loads and loads of different ways. You can use it for pattern making. You could use different bits of it. I think I'll do a whole stream sometime in the next couple of weeks on stenciling, rather than trying to shovel them in, because I am tired now. All dogs in the land are barking. I sincerely hope so. Sorry everybody whose dog Milo has just set off there. I'm sorry about that. Exactly. That's why I've done it, Lynn, because I know that people will buy that stencil and they will think of using it as a feature like this. And they'll think, yes, okay, but what if I don't want it like that? What if I don't actually want that rose as a stencil? Well, you know, you can do beautiful things, and let's be honest, let's just imagine I'm doing a bit of homemaking here. I've got my domestic hat on. There's a nice panel that I could take out for a centre of a cushion, and I could put this material, I'm assuming these are on fabric, I could put this material around the edges. Couldn't I to border it, because it's going to go with it, because it's the same things. And actually I've got that other nice rose hip one somewhere as well that I could use. And I've got some features, and I've got some materials that work with it. And I've got a lovely palette of materials. So my lovelies, I'm going to stop there because I want to go and wash my stencils before this paint dries on them, because I haven't had a chance to blot them off. And I just want to stop them from getting too disgusting. Oh, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. I'm going to go and drink my tea, wash up. I think the finger of fudge is probably very much called for at this point. And I will try and do some more live streams in the next few weeks, because I know there's a lot of people at home and bored and a bit worried and upset and depressed as well. Need to do enough to paper the bedroom. Absolutely. Be fantastic, wouldn't it? Be gorgeous. Can you imagine those rose sprays all over your bedroom wall? Just be absolutely gorgeous. Fabric paints I'm using, and these are my own fabric paints. They're in my online shop. They are made from Set a Colour Opaque. They're very opaque, so that when I over dye, like I have done here, it's just drying off now, on this one, so that when I over dye, the paints will hold their colour. This was over dyed in really deep colours, this panel, and the paints hold their colours. So they're based on Set a Colour Opaque, but I have mixed a range of about 50 colours. Oh, Christine, you... That's hopeless, child. Well, you'll have to just go back to the beginning, and you've got 3 hours to go. You've got 3 hours of jolly time. Yeah, so if you look in the, put the stencils in the sink and leave them for Jill tomorrow. Good plan. So I've mixed about 50, it might even be 60 colours now of matte ones, and about 35 shimmer colours, so that there's a good range, because Set a Colour Opaque, as they come, are a really boring range of colours, just very stark and not particularly gorgeous, whereas the ones that I've mixed are, and they actually come in at better value than Set a Colour Opaque, because I'm getting great big litre pots of them, so I can actually do them at a good price. Oh, you're more than welcome. I'll put some photos up of these fabrics and papers when I get a chance, and I will look at my diary. I mean, I guess all I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks is my online streams, because not like any of us are going to be doing much else, does it? So we need to keep cheery, so we'll do some more things on here, but I will post about those in advance so that you can find them. Thank you very much for joining me. As ever, it's lovely to talk to you all, new people and the old troublemakers, all of you. So take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. Hang on, what was Saturday? Missed that one. What was Saturday? Nothing happened on Saturday. I did, no, I don't think so. I streamed yesterday, was Sunday, today and yesterday. I didn't do one on Saturday. Pretty sure I don't even know, Jackie. I don't think I did. Somebody else will be able to tell you. Somebody else will be able to answer that question. Right, my lovelies, I'm off. Take care of all yourselves and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now. Bye.